under a dark, moonless sky, perfect for murder, a gravely wounded servant from the general's estate struggled through the snow. On a rooftop behind him, a mysterious figure in black watched his every move, like a predator stalking its prey. Seeing his opportunity, the cloaked figure signaled to his companions. Their target, the injured man below, he was to be taken alive. The man's wound continued to bleed, and amidst the whistling wind, he seemed to sense the danger closing in. A chilling scream pierced the night air, suggesting the man had met a grim fate. Within a 10-mile radius, the largest inn bustled with a constant flow of guests. The inn's attraction wasn't just its aged vintage wine, but also a little-known legend. The innkeeper was currently whispering with his waiter about a mother and daughter who had checked in the previous day and were now practicing medicine at the inn's entrance. The innkeeper scoffed at their actions, believing them to be charlatans, conjuring tricks to swindle travelers. However, their attire didn't resemble that of typical wandering healers. The young woman, in particular, possessed an undeniable air of refinement. It was a refinement that even her thin veil couldn't conceal. Her voice, as clear as falling ice crystals, instructed patients on how to take their medicine. The innkeeper, unable to tolerate the spectacle any longer, intervened. If something went wrong, these two would simply disappear, leaving him and his inn to bear the consequences. The young woman, her expression unreadable, gazed at him with calm, clear eyes. The innkeeper challenged them. Just because you put up a sign, you dare call yourselves doctors? You two frail women, incapable of even lifting a finger, are nothing but frauds. Faced with his order to leave, the young woman's face betrayed a flicker of annoyance. Seeing her as an easy target, the innkeeper continued his tirade, his words flowing like a wound-up spring. He only stopped when a young woman addressed him as uncle. He had assumed her silence was a prelude to a furious outburst. Instead, she had been observing him. "Uncle," she inquired, "do you experience a tightness in your chest, a stabbing pain near your heart, and occasional night sweats?" The innkeeper, moments ago a raging torrent, was instantly silenced. She had described his symptoms perfectly, especially his irritability, restlessness, and anxiety. The excited waiter, inadvertently betraying his employer, confirmed every ailment. Gesturing with her hands, the young woman continued, "Judging by your age, uncle, you are clearly past 40. The constant smell of alcohol, your haggard appearance, and the bloodshot eyes all point to years of overwork. It's not uncommon for someone in your position, with such a large establishment, to develop this condition. However," she added, her voice grave, "it's crucial to address it early. Left untreated, I'm afraid." She didn't prolong the suspense. The outcome could be fatal. The blustering innkeeper was now consumed by fear. Pride and anger were meaningless in the face of mortality. He immediately changed his tune, addressing her as divine doctor and begging for her help. The young woman, Zhao Linger, had fled here with her mother. Her mother found her in the stables, grooming a Zhaofengma. "Mother," Linger said, "I'm grooming Xiao Kai. Why aren't you resting at this late hour?" Her mother pointed at her. "Your actions today were reckless. Confronting the innkeeper like that draws unwanted attention. Don't forget, we are fugitives, not tourists. Survival is paramount." "I don't wish for anything else," Linger replied, "only for you to be safe." She recalled the horrific massacre that had claimed their family. Mother and daughter had barely escaped with their lives. How can there be peace without vengeance? Linger murmured. Her mother comforted her. What's done is done. Dwelling on it serves no purpose. 7 years had passed since the tragedy, and the mastermind remained unknown. They still didn't understand why their family had been targeted. The inferno that had reduced their home to ashes remained a haunting nightmare. The next day, Linger donned simple clothes, slung a medicine basket over her shoulder, and headed into the mountains to gather herbs. Thanks to her father's training, she moved with grace and agility, as still as a maiden one moment, and as swift as a hare the next. The massacre had forced her to grow up quickly, transforming her from a sheltered young lady into a survivor. On her way back to the inn, her sharp senses alerted her to the presence of someone following her. She was right. Not far behind, 2 men were tailing her. One wore coarse hemp clothing, the other silk robes. Their expressions were as inscrutable as those of underworld spirits. Linger, feigning ignorance, continued on her path. She pretended not to notice, her heart pounding in her chest. They kept a close watch on Zhao Linger and her mother, tracking their every move. Then, using his knowledge of the city's layout gained over the past few days, he vanished into the crowd with a flash. The two men were stunned. They had underestimated Zhao Linger. She had disappeared right before their eyes. Panic set in. Like headless chickens, they began a frantic, aimless search for her. While they were distracted, a swift, ethereal figure darted past. With nimble grace, the newcomer struck, knocking the man in white to the ground. It was Zhao Linger, seemingly appearing out of thin air. Seeing his companion fall, the man in black drew his sword and lunged at her. Zhao Linger, composed and alert, kept a close eye on his movements while her hand rested on the herb-gathering knife hidden at her waist. The moment was ripe. Zhao Linger drew her knife and countered with a swift, crescent-shaped attack, her blade singing through the air. The man in black, underestimating her a second time, found himself wounded by her seemingly innocuous herb knife. Despite having the upper hand in this 2-against-1 fight, a sudden unease gripped Zhao Linger. Something felt wrong. She couldn't risk staying any longer. She had to leave. Racing back to the inn, she urged her mother to pack their belongings. Their location had been compromised. They had to move now. Under the cover of night, they fled on their beloved Shao Kai. Yet, to Zhao Linger's dismay, despite their swift escape, they were being pursued. The clatter of hooves and the clang of metal echoed behind them. There were at least a dozen pursuers. Leaning close to Shao Kai, Zhao Linger whispered, "Faster! Our lives hang in the balance." Suddenly, the air was filled with the whistling of arrows, raining down on them like deadly hail. One arrow grazed Zhao Linger's cheek. She urged Shao Kai onward, pushing him to his limits. Zhao Linger hadn't anticipated such ruthless determination. They had even sent archers to hunt down a widowed mother and her daughter. Realizing the danger, she told her mother to dismount. On foot, they would have a better chance of evading the arrows. She then instructed Shao Kai to run and draw the attackers away. Years of companionship had forged a deep bond between them. Even facing certain death, Shao Kai would do anything for his mistress. He galloped off, a loyal steed facing impossible odds. Meanwhile, Zhao Linger and her mother took a different path, heading in the opposite direction. Zhao Linger's plan seemed to work. Hearing the sound of hooves, the captain of the archers led his men in pursuit. Suddenly, one of his men noticed something amiss and called out to him. Even veiled by a black cloth, the man's eyes were sharp, like a predator hunting in the night. He suggested they split up, one group following the horse, the other searching in the opposite direction. The sounds of pursuit grew closer once more. Zhao Linger felt a chill of dread. Their ruse had been discovered. Had they failed to shake them off? Or had something happened to Shao Kai? It was hard to stay calm. Just then, they spotted a dilapidated temple. Zhao Linger and her mother took refuge inside, hoping for a miracle, perhaps even divine protection. Pressed against the door, Zhao Linger peered outside, desperately trying to formulate a plan. But the attackers were closing in fast, giving her little time to think. In the blink of an eye, dozens of archers surrounded the small temple. Out of options, Zhao Linger told her mother she would create a diversion so her mother could escape. As any mother would, she refused to leave her daughter. Instead, she flung a handful of powder into the air. Hearing her mother's call, Zhao Linger turned. Some of the powder landed on her. The next moment, she felt a strange numbness spreading through her limbs. Her head swam. Her legs grew weak. Could this be the legendary 13 fragrance softening powder? Zhao Linger collapsed, unable to muster any strength. She understood what her mother was about to do. Her mother, cradling her semi-conscious daughter, explained that the attackers' swift arrival meant their diversion had been seen through. All Zhao Linger needed to do now was stay hidden in the temple. Her mother rose, her voice calm. "I'll handle things out here." She walked towards the door. Linger tried to call out, but her mother simply repeated her name. Then, with the words, "Live well," she opened the door. Zhao Linger struggled to stop her, but the potent effects of the 13 fragrance softening powder held her captive. The temple doors swung open. In the cold moonlight stood Linger's mother, her back a silhouette of resolve. As figures emerged from within, the leader wore a triumphant smirk, worthy of General Zhao Yu's wife. You showed yourself, Lu Xiao. Even the cold-blooded leader of the assassins couldn't help but admire Lu Xiao's courage and decisiveness. Lu Xiao, facing his praise, responded with a nonchalant air. It's just empty fame bestowed by the world. Looking at the assassin leader, Lu Xiao knew he had an ulterior motive. Otherwise, he could have easily killed her outside the temple. The leader didn't bother hiding it. If you come with us, you can avoid further suffering. Lu Xiao, without a moment's hesitation, refused. The leader hadn't expected such defiance from a woman. Hearing the raised voices, Zhao Linger, her body slowly succumbing to the drug's numbing effects, struggled to push herself up, desperate to see what was happening to her mother. As if anticipating this, Lu Xiao seized her opportunity, scattering the powder. In a flash, she snatched the leader's weapon. Resolutely, she chose to end her own life. Only then could she save her daughter. Through the window, Zhao Linger watched helplessly as her mother died before her eyes, unable to do anything. Blood stained the curtains a shocking, vibrant red. Linger felt a dizzying wave of disbelief. In a single moment, she and her mother were separated by death. She strained with all her might, but no sound escaped her lips, only ragged breaths and tears streaming down her face. Outside, the assassins weren't ready to give up. Their master would be furious if they failed. Fortunately, the housekeeper they'd captured a few days earlier had revealed some crucial information. Linger hadn't realized they had a backup plan, that they'd even captured the housekeeper. He had revealed that the general, before his death, had visited Yuanshan Academy. With a new target, the leader prepared to leave. One of his men asked what should be done with Lu Xiao's body. Looking at her proud form, the leader decided to burn the temple, body and all, to avoid future complications. Hearing this, Linger's tears flowed anew. She couldn't even protect her mother's body. Without a moment's hesitation, the leader gave the order, and a torch was thrown inside. It landed directly on Lu Xiao's body. The flames illuminated her delicate features, allowing Linger to see the full extent of her mother's death. The vengeance for her family's massacre burned within her. Seeing the fire raging, the assassins hurried to their leader to ask about their next move. As the flames consumed the dilapidated temple, erasing all evidence, Linger remembered a white jade pendant her mother had given her as a child. It was the first beautiful gift she'd ever received. She recalled her mother's smile, the gentle way she'd fastened the pendant, and the joy that had filled her heart. Memories of happier days flooded her mind, days of laughter and warmth that would never return. Overwhelmed, Linger sobbed again. She hated her helplessness, that even the last vestiges of warmth in her life had been brutally extinguished by these assassins. She didn't know how much time had passed before the soft clopping of hooves roused her. Waking up, she looked at her surroundings, disoriented. Thankfully, her horse, Xiao Kai, was still by her side. Memories pieced themselves together like fragments. Xiao Kai had rushed into the burning temple and saved her. Remembering her mother's body still inside, Linger looked back. The temple had burned through the night and was still ablaze. 7 years ago, her family's manor had been massacred. Last night, her mother had died in this temple. Recalling the assassins' words before they left, she knew they were headed to Yuanshan Academy. Linger vowed to uncover the truth and avenge her family. But now, without her mother's protection, where could she go? Meanwhile, at Yuanshan Academy, a servant boy urged his young master to hurry, lest they be late for his studies. But the young master remained unconcerned, muttering about some hidden conspiracy. Why else would he suddenly be sent to study? It was all so capricious. Elsewhere, Zhao Linger, disguised as a young man, prepared to take the Yuanshan Academy entrance exam. To do so, she needed an entrance permit. But how could she obtain one? The sudden downpour caught everyone off guard. Fortunately, there was a small shop ahead. The young master and his servant boy galloped towards it, the master complaining about the unexpected rain. Clearly, the small inn nearby was the best option for shelter from the downpour. With a roof over their heads and respite from the wind and rain, the young master's countenance finally softened. It seemed the storm wasn't going to let up anytime soon. "We might as well stay the night," the young master said, instructing his servant to book 2 rooms with the innkeeper. The servant busied himself checking their baggage to ensure nothing had gotten wet. Suddenly, a quarrel at a nearby table caught the young master's attention. He glanced over to see a burly man drinking, his mouth running a mile a minute as he berated his underlings for their incompetence. "Can't even handle a simple task. What good are you? Stuck in this place because of the rain. Can't you even understand that? You're all idiots." The young master listened to the commotion, muttering to himself about the man's foul temper. His curiosity piqued. He inquired with the innkeeper about the man's background. The innkeeper simply replied that he was a merchant who passed through regularly, a familiar face. Observing the man's demeanor, adorned with bronze ornaments yet treating his subordinates so harshly, the young master lost interest in the spectacle. He had his own predicament to deal with, after all. Just then, another drenched figure entered, dressed as a scholar, rainwater dripping from their face. The young master, lost in thought, was startled by the sound and turned quickly. He found the newcomer to be delicate-featured and possessed of a cool demeanor. Though clad in simple robes, they exuded an undeniable presence. In that fleeting glance, the young master realized he had never seen someone so fair. It was Zhao Linger, disguised as a young man. To avoid suspicion, she had resorted to this ruse. Seeing that she had nothing to dry herself with, the young master quickly offered his own handkerchief. The unexpected kindness from a stranger left Zhao Linger flustered. She hesitated to accept, but the man before her seemed to harbor no ill intentions, even adding a gentle warning about catching a chill. After a moment of indecision, Zhao Linger gratefully accepted the handkerchief. Holding it in her hand, she felt as though the whole situation was surreal. The young master, beaming, seemed to think nothing of his small act of kindness. Just then, the innkeeper's assistant hurried over, beckoning him upstairs to his room. As Zhao Linger ascended the stairs, her eyes drifted towards the young master. He seemed like a decent person, though it was just a handkerchief. She appreciated the gesture of warmth and concern. The servant, fearing his master had gotten himself into another predicament, rushed over to inquire about the situation. Learning that he had lent his used handkerchief to a stranger, his face darkened considerably. Only then did the young master realize, with a pang of belated embarrassment, that he might have done something foolish in his impulsiveness. He could only scratch his head sheepishly. What was done was done. As Zhao Linger climbed the stairs, she strained her ears, thinking she had heard the words, "entrance permit." Sure enough, the servant pulled out an entrance permit from his bag, bearing the inscription, Yuan Shan Academy. It was like finding a needle in a haystack. Zhao Linger couldn't believe that the very thing she had been searching for was right before her eyes. The servant, relieved to see the permit was undamaged, breathed a sigh of relief. "Thank goodness it's made of wood," he muttered. Otherwise, the exam would be a problem. Zhao Linger's brow furrowed. So these two were also headed to Yuan Shan Academy for the entrance exam. It seemed the young master who had offered her the handkerchief was the owner of this permit. The realization filled Zhao Linger with a sense of regret. He seemed kind, but she couldn't pass up this opportunity. She had to find a way to obtain the permit. He likely won't live past tonight anyway, she thought. With the permit, the rest of her plan would fall into place. Uncovering the truth would be within her grasp. But how to get the permit without raising the alarm? Under the cover of darkness, Zhao Linger stealthily pushed open the young master's window. She moved with the utmost care, afraid to make a sound that might jeopardize her plan. Stealing the permit wouldn't be difficult, but the young master would surely raise a fuss when he woke to find it missing. If he persisted and followed her to the academy, it would create a much bigger problem. She had to be decisive. Zhao Linger drew her weapon, prepared to deliver a fatal blow. She didn't want to harm this innocent bystander, but to avoid further complications, she had to eliminate him. Outside, the rain continued to fall. Zhao Linger found herself thinking back to that afternoon. Father and mother were always by my side, caring for me, afraid I might be hurt even slightly. Under their protection, innocent and carefree, I could enjoy the simple pleasure of running in the rain. Mother would gently dry me with a handkerchief, and father wouldn't scold me for being too playful. As long as I was happy, they were happy. Life was blissful, untouched by sorrow. Back then, our family together was warm and sweet. But now life is like walking on thin ice. Every day, I fearfully evade pursuit and even risk danger to steal this entrance permit. Zhao Linger silently apologized, but her hands moved swiftly. As she stood on the verge of taking a life, his gentle smile flashed through her mind and the lingering warmth from the handkerchief he offered her. But her hands couldn't stop. If she hesitated, all her efforts would be wasted. The more she tried not to think about it, the more vivid the daytime memory became, stirring her heart and clouding her thoughts. He had smiled, offering the handkerchief. "Dry yourself quickly," he'd said. "Be careful not to catch a cold." This unexpected kindness, something she hadn't experienced in so long, stayed the killing blow. Torn by conflicting emotions, the thought of killing him finally gave way to something else. In that moment of indecision, Zhao Linger decided to spare his life for now and continue searching for the permit. If he caused trouble or interfered with her plans at the academy, she could always deal with him later. The moonlight was hazy, and the unlit room was even darker. She searched and searched, but the permit was nowhere to be found. It wasn't in his bag. Could he be carrying on him? Zhao Linger looked towards the bed, a suspicion forming. Sure enough, there it was, tucked beneath his pillow. This was going to be tricky. Zhao Linger moved cautiously, praying he wouldn't wake up. Suddenly, the young master rolled over, startling her to her core. Before she could react, he opened his eyes, his face a mask of confusion. She'd finally gotten her hands on the permit, but he was awake. She cursed her lack of foresight. She should have used some sleeping powder. As the young master came to his senses, he realized the masked figure before him looked more like a thief. He grabbed Zhao Linger by the collar, pinning her to the bed. "How dare you sneak into my room in the middle of the night? Who are you?" Regret, sharp and sudden, pierced Zhao Linger. She'd been too careless. In the next instant, the cloth covering her face was ripped away, revealing her delicate, handsome features. The young master recognized her. Wasn't this the handsome young man he'd given his handkerchief to earlier? Her disguise was blown. Should she silence him? Her hesitation caused her to overlook the hand that still gripped her tightly, and that hand happened to be resting on her chest. Zhao Linger froze. The soft touch instantly revealed the truth to the young master. The young man he'd helped was, in fact, a woman. But before he could speak, Zhao Linger slapped him, calling him a scoundrel and a pervert. Her carefully laid plans were in ruins. The bewildered young master was still reeling from the revelation of her true gender. Not only had she failed to steal the permit, but her disguise was also compromised. Zhao Linger, rarely flustered, panicked. What should she do now? Should she knock him unconscious or just kill him? She hadn't sensed any inner energy from him earlier. Just then, the young master leaned in close, the narrow bed suddenly feeling incredibly small. He murmured, "So that's how it is," as he boldly met Zhao Linger's gaze. He'd figured out the reason for her nocturnal visit, the Yuanshan Academy entrance permit. "So you came to steal this? Dressed as a man, planning to sneak into the academy? Don't tell me you actually want to study there." Infuriated, Zhao Linger threw off his grip. "I do want to study. Why shouldn't a woman be allowed to study?" With that, she grabbed the permit and slammed it into his face with such force that his cheek instantly swelled. 2 beatings in a single night, but he didn't seem to mind. Instead, an idea began to form. He decided to make a deal with Zhao Linger, and the terms would be his to dictate. Hearing this, Zhao Linger didn't lower her guard, continuing to glare at him. Unfazed, the young master calmly stated his terms. "I'll help you get into the academy, help you achieve your goal." Zhao Linger scoffed. "Do you think I'm stupid? Who would help someone who broke into their room in the middle of the night?" Zhao Linger's words played right into the young master, Sikong Chongshan's hands. "So, this is just a transaction. It's not that I want to help you. I have my conditions. First," he continued, "tell me your real reason for going to Yuanshan Academy. Don't try to fool me with some flimsy excuse." Zhao Linger's brow furrowed. She absolutely could not reveal her quest for revenge. If the assassins discovered her true purpose, death would be her only fate. The young master continued, oblivious to her inner turmoil. "As long as you tell me your purpose, I'll forget tonight's incident ever happened. I won't mention it again." As he spoke, he playfully twirled a strand of Zhao Linger's hair. Ching Ching, his servant, whispered the second condition in his ear. "You have to agree to fulfill one of my wishes." With her secret in someone else's grasp, Zhao Linger felt trapped. Escape seemed impossible. Visibly flustered, she couldn't even begin to imagine what this wish might be. Sikong Chongshan's sudden closeness only intensified her unease. "As for the wish," he said with a shrug, "I haven't thought of it yet. You can help me out when I do." Such an unreasonable request was almost unbelievable. Zhao Linger decided to cut her losses. This person was clearly not as simple as he appeared. "Who are you?" she demanded. "Why are you toying with me?" At this, the young master scratched his head sheepishly. "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Sikong Chongshan. I'm just a wanderer, traveling the world. But as you can see, I'm currently on my way to Yuanshan Academy to take the entrance exam." The surname Sikong was unusual. It reminded Zhao Linger of the Sikong clan from her memories. She was about to ask him about it, but Sikong Chongshan let out a yawn. We'll talk about your situation later. Why don't we go for a walk tomorrow? Remember to dress nicely. He added a provocative smile as he spoke, the word nicely carrying a pointed meaning. His assumption that she was a girl grated on her nerves. The long night finally passed. For the first time in a long while, Zhao Linger donned female attire, even adorning herself with earrings. Downstairs, Sikong Chongshan, already dressed in a different outfit, waited expectantly. With the creak of the opening door, a figure drifted into view. Hearing the sound, Sikong Chongshan turned around. The sight that greeted him was astonishing. Dressed in women's clothing, Zhao Linger was captivating. Even her hair had been meticulously styled. Sikong Chongshan found it hard to reconcile the beautiful young woman before him with the thief who had tried to steal his entrance permit the night before. Feeling his gaze, Zhao Linger shifted uncomfortably. "Where are we going?" she asked, changing the subject. Sikong Chongshan's walk was just that, a walk. He simply didn't want to stroll with her dressed as a man. Curiosity piqued. He asked her name. Last night's events were still fresh in his mind. Without thinking, Zhao Linger offered a false name. "I'm Lin Qian." But Sikong Chongshan saw through her ruse immediately. "That's not your real name," he stated plainly. "But a name is just a label, nothing important. It doesn't matter what you call yourself." Hearing this, the tension eased from Zhao Linger's face. However, his next words caught her off guard. "I'll call you Qian then." Ignoring her protests, he pressed on. "Why do you want to enter the academy? You can tell me now." After a long silence, Zhao Linger finally spoke. "Revenge." Though only a single word, Sikong Chongshan sensed the weight behind it. "Revenge for whom?" "For my family," he prompted. "Of course my family. For my father, my mother, for my entire clan." The memory of that blood-soaked night flooded back. Apart from her mother and herself, who had managed to escape, no one had survived. But the assassins hadn't been satisfied. They had hunted her mother down, forcing her to... Tears welled in Zhao Linger's eyes, but she stubbornly refused to let them fall. She didn't want Sikong Chongshan to see her vulnerability. Turning away, she presented him with her back. The heavy atmosphere was suffocating. Zhao Linger felt the urge to flee. But before she could take more than a few steps, a hand grasped her arm. Sikong Chongshan pulled her back into the pavilion. "It's still raining," he said gently. "Be careful not to catch a cold. Even in the rain, the tears in your eyes won't disappear." Desperate to hide her distress, Zhao Linger used her wide sleeves to cover her face, frantically wiping away the tears. Sensing he had overstepped, Sikong Chongshan felt a pang of awkwardness. "About getting into the academy," he began, a touch of uncertainty in his voice. "I haven't actually come up with a good plan yet." Zhao Linger, noticing his hesitation, raised an eyebrow. "You've been thinking this whole time, and you haven't thought of anything?" "Thinking it over now has its advantages," Zhao Linger mused. "First, prepare a proper permit. But it's too late now. Better to just get a fake one and bluff our way through." Zhao Linger had only considered stealing a genuine permit. The idea of forging one hadn't crossed her mind. Sikong Chongshan's suggestion was a revelation. But where could they get a fake permit? Just then, the quarrelsome merchant from the previous day was directing his men as they moved goods. Sikong watched their bustling activity, a thoughtful expression on his face. What was he planning? Unbeknownst to them, the ill-tempered merchant was also observing them surreptitiously. His gaze lingered on Zhao Linger, now dressed in women's clothing, captivated by her graceful figure. Sikong suddenly remembered. The merchant was a woodcarver. But what if he let slip the secret of the forged permit? Would they have to silence him permanently? The thought was unsettling, and if those assassins learned of it, the situation would become even more precarious. Seeing the troubled look on Zhao Linger's face, Sikong gently ruffled her hair. "Don't worry," he reassured her. "As long as I'm here, everything will be all right. I've come up with a foolproof plan," he declared. "It just requires a small sacrifice." Night fell. Zhao Linger, fully prepared, was determined to make the woodcarver create a fake permit. But she needed leverage to ensure his silence. Soaking in a bath, Zhao Linger pondered Sikong's plan. Would it work? The small sacrifice turned out to be a honey trap. Zhao Linger would use her feminine charms to lure the merchant, then spread the word that she was bathing. When he arrived, they would catch him red-handed. It seemed flawless, requiring only one alluring individual. Yet, Zhao Linger remained apprehensive. What if he didn't come? Wouldn't it be simpler to just eliminate him? His plan felt devious and far too risky. Sikong gently pinched her cheek. "He'll come," he said confidently. "After all, you have a rather lovely face." Sikong Chongshan, still pinching Zhao Linger's cheek, offered a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, I'll be keeping watch outside." Zhao Linger was speechless at his casual touch. She raised her hand to slap him, but he effortlessly caught her wrist. "I told you to stay away from me," she snapped, her voice laced with anger. "You're the last person I trust." Sikong winced, rubbing his hand. "That was harsh." Zhao Linger turned away, her brow furrowed, teeth gritted. "I can handle this myself. Don't interfere." With that, Zhao Linger stormed off. Sikong Chongshan watched her retreating figure, muttering under his breath, "Humph, I don't care what happens to you. Serves you right if you get into trouble." He pouted, a petulant expression on his face. Later that night, Zhao Linger, following their plan, immersed herself in a bath. She waited and waited. Her patience began to wear thin. Resting her arms on the edge of the tub, she sighed. "It's so late. It must have failed." Suddenly, she heard someone approaching the room. A figure paused at the door, peering through the paper window. Then, with a sharp poke, a bamboo rod pierced the paper. A stream of smoke billowed into the room, quickly filling the air. Zhao Linger, still oblivious, continued to soak in the now hazy bath. Resting her chin on her hand, she felt a wave of lethargy wash over her. What was happening? She felt so sleepy. Her eyelids grew heavy. She still hadn't realized the smoke was drugged. Rubbing her eyes, she mumbled, "Why am I so dizzy all of a sudden?" The door creaked open. Meanwhile, on the rooftop, Sikong Chongshan shivered in the cool night air, his thin clothing offering little warmth. He propped his chin on his hand, gazing into the distance, his mind preoccupied with their plan. Why isn't anything happening, he wondered. Inside, Zhao Linger bolted upright in the tub, staring in alarm at the masked figure before her. "Who are you? How did you get in here?" Struggling to stand, she fought against the drug's effects. He actually came, but this wasn't how it was supposed to go. The man's eyes narrowed, a sinister glint in them. Well, he leered. "This and has some hidden delights." Zhao Linger gritted her teeth, desperately trying to stay conscious. Due to his strong will, Sikong Chongshan hadn't lost consciousness. His body still trembled, but his mind raced with worry for Zhao Linger. "I hope she's all right," he thought. Just then, Zhao Linger's hand found the teapot on the table. She prepared herself, ready to defend herself. Watching the man advance, she hurled the teapot. "Stay back." The man dodged it with ease. He stared at her, incredulous. "Drugged, and you're still fighting? Impressive." Zhao Linger scrambled back, fear gripping her. The man's hand lashed out, aiming to cover her mouth. Terror widened her eyes. Suddenly, a familiar voice shouted. Zhao Linger's eyes fluttered open. Standing before her was a figure both familiar and strange. Sikong Chongshan, holding a wooden staff, looked down at her. "It's all right now." Zhao Linger's gaze shifted between him and the unconscious man, momentarily lost. Sikong Chongshan crouched beside her, a smile touching his lips. "Seems I arrived just in time. I've taken care of that brute." As his words faded, Zhao Linger released a shaky breath. The tension that had coiled tight within her finally unfurled. He asked, concerned, "Are you all right?" But he was completely unprepared for what happened next. Zhao Linger swayed, her body failing her. In an instant, she collapsed against Sikong Chongshan. He stared down at her, surprised. "What's wrong?" She lay still in his arms. He reached out, steadying her with a hand on her shoulder. The unexpected intimacy of the embrace startled him. A blush crept up his neck, staining his cheeks. He looked down at the unconscious girl in his arms. Why did she faint? What do I do now? The next morning, the effects of the drug finally wore off. Zhao Linger's eyelids fluttered open. Sikong Chongshan's face filled her vision. He sat beside her, head resting on his hand, looking relaxed. Seeing her awake, he sighed and spoke. "You're finally awake." Zhao Linger, taking in his features, recoiled in surprise. Her eyes widened. Sikong Chongshan, arms crossed, observed her astonishment. You slept the whole night. Glad to see you finally decided to join the living again. Zhao Linger, hearing his words, rubbed her aching head. She struggled to recall the events of the previous night, but the more she tried, the more her head throbbed. The pain was almost unbearable, forcing her to stop. Remembering only fragments, she blurted out, "Did you get it? The permit?" After a long pause, Sikong Chongshan turned his back to her. He let out a weary sigh. The plan failed. Zhao Linger stared at him, disbelieving. "You didn't get it? How could you fail? How could it have failed?" Suddenly, Sikong Chongshan turned back, a grin spreading across his face. "Just kidding," he said, his voice brimming with amusement. It had all been a joke. Zhao Linger was stunned. She couldn't believe he would tease her about something so important. Sikong Chongshan then produced the Yuan Shan Academy permit. The forged permit had been made overnight. He tossed it to Zhao Linger, who caught it with both hands. She stared at the permit in disbelief. Sikong Chongshan, sipping his tea, said casually, "It was a bit tricky to make." Zhao Linger ignored him. He continued, oblivious to her silence. "Good thing I got there in time last night. I even confiscated the drug paraphernalia. We've got the culprit and the evidence." Dashu made the permit overnight. Zhao Linger, overwhelmed, didn't know what to say. Then she heard him say, "Aren't you going to thank me?" Clutching the wooden permit, Zhao Linger smiled. "Then thank you. For now." Her earlier suspicion seemed to have vanished. Her words sent a wave of heat through Sikong Chongshan, turning his face crimson. He pretended to be engrossed in his tea, but his expression betrayed him. He coughed, trying to regain his composure. He turned his head, the cough momentarily dissipating the blush that had risen in his cheeks. But as he turned back, he was met with a sight that surprised him. He coughed again, this time more forcefully. "I didn't help you for nothing," he said, approaching the bed. Looking down at Zhao Linger, Sikong Chongshan said, "Don't forget you still owe me a favor." A sudden silence fell over the room. The moment he finished speaking, Zhao Linger angrily exclaimed, "I know. You don't need to remind me. I won't go back on my word." Zhao Linger continued to scrutinize Sikong Chongshan, unable to decipher his intentions. What was he planning? If she guessed correctly, Sikong Chongshan was the son of the reclusive Sikong Tai Fu. Could he be playing the fool, hiding his true strength? But what was his purpose at Yuan Shan Academy? Zhao Linger couldn't figure it out. Would he interfere with her plans? Sikong Chongshan suddenly turned to her, his voice laced with surprise. "What are you daydreaming about?" Zhao Linger stared at him, a flicker of guilt in her eyes. He stroked his chin, looking at her with feigned boredom. "Are you wondering why I'm going to Yuan Shan Academy?" Sikong Chongshan scoffed. "Do you want to know?" Zhao Linger desperately wanted to know, but she didn't know how to ask. Lowering her head, she voiced her doubts. "With your family background and status, you don't need to go to the academy. So it's not as simple as studying, is it?" Sikong Chongshan suddenly moved closer, a sly smile playing on his lips. "Are you curious about me?" Zhao Linger, shove him away. "Stay away from me." The force of the push sent Sikong Chongshan stumbling backward. Yet, he didn't seem angry. He chuckled, teasing her. "Your reactions are always so amusing." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Linger punched him again, this time with much more force. Sikong Chongshan didn't have time to react. As they prepared to depart, Qingqing rushed over, her voice anxious. "Young master, where did you go last night? Do you know how worried I was?" Sikong Chongshan looked embarrassed. He rubbed the back of his neck. "I forgot you were still here." Qingqing sighed. "Young master." Zhao Linger smiled at the sky. "It's finally cleared up. Let's go. We'll reach Yuan Shan Academy in 2 days." They mounted their horses and set off towards the academy. Neither of them noticed that someone was missing. They hadn't gone far when Qingqing shouted after them, "Wait for me." They slowed down to let her catch up. Elsewhere, a young man reported on his mission. The mistress killed herself before revealing any information. The black-bearded man spoke slowly. "Continue to track down Zhao Linger. Also, arrange for Liu to take the entrance exam for Yuan Shan Academy." He continued, "Make sure to find out what General Zhao did at the academy. Who was behind all of this?" Liu, his eyes filled with a chilling intensity, received the order. He exuded a dangerous aura, someone not to be trifled with. Soon, people on the street were shouting, "Young Master Liu." Those in the tea house also took notice. Liu seemed to be quite popular with the women in the city. He gave a slight smile, captivating them all. He appeared to be a refined and elegant young gentleman. Countless women followed him. One shyly asked, "I heard you're going to Yuan Shan Academy?" Liu nodded gently, his smile so warm and captivating. What secrets was he hiding? A young woman with curly hair stared, her face flushing crimson. Is that Luoyu? I have to go see him. As she turned to go, two unwelcome figures appeared behind her, blocking her path. They approached her with mocking gazes. So you're the one who injured our brothers? You don't look like much. You hit us and ran. How are you going to compensate us? She tried to back away, but one of the men grabbed her hand, causing her to panic. What do you want? Liu, standing amidst the crowd, glanced towards the curly-haired woman. His expression remained unchanged, but the young woman interpreted it differently. He saw me. He'll help, she thought excitedly. But the aloof young nobleman, who had seemed to glance her way, now completely ignored her pleas for help. Standing above the crowd, she felt a pang of despair. Her heart felt like it was breaking. Had Liu really pretended not to see her? He flung the man's grubby hand away, his balance momentarily thrown by a surge of anger. Men all pigs, she thought. A gasp rippled through the onlookers below. Rough fingers pointed upwards. Look everyone, someone's falling. Quick as a flash, a figure sprang into action, leaping with effortless grace towards the falling woman. Ignoring the gawking crowd, he caught the curly-haired girl securely in his strong arms. A sudden breeze stirred, tangling their hair for a fleeting moment. Within the quaint, aged building, the clamor of the onlookers died down. A hush fell over the scene, then erupted into a chorus of praise. Amazing skill, young master. A magnificent catch. Zhao Linger, ignoring the commotion, looked at the curly-haired girl with a calm expression. Don't mind them. Are you all right? The girl stammered that she was fine, but her previously placid eyes, meeting Zhao Linger's, suddenly lit up. Sikong Chongshan strode forward, clapping Zhao Linger on the shoulder. Well done. Just like you, Xiao Qian. Zhao Linger turned a gentle gaze on the curly-haired girl. You should go home now. The girl smiled at them. Let me buy you all a meal first. Sikong Chongshan, standing between them, a subtle smile playing on his lips and a flicker of warmth in his usually cold eyes, seemed amenable to the suggestion. Ew. Hidden within the crowd, his long, ink-black hair cascading to his waist, his face partially obscured by his fringe, watched. What is Sikong Chongshan doing here? The curly-haired girl spoke tentatively. Are you also going to Yuanshan Academy? The exams start tomorrow. Good luck. This year, besides the usual tests, there's a new one. They haven't released any details yet. Getting into the academy won't be easy. Yuanshan Academy, nestled in a tranquil setting, its towering gates a symbol of its prestige, had a stern examiner stationed at the entrance. He was determined to thoroughly check every student. Everyone had to have a Yuanshan Academy token. Zhao Linger, head bowed, barely daring to breathe, beads of sweat forming on his pale forehead, slowly presented his token to the examiner. Sikong Chongshan, however, remained nonchalant, his arms casually folded behind his head. Looks like we're finally in. Luoyu suddenly appeared before them, his dark eyes scrutinizing them. This must be Brother Sikong. Ignoring any response, he walked directly to Zhao Linger. And this must be young Master Lin Qian. Brother Sikong certainly has many friends. Sikong Chongshan stepped in front of the silent Zhao Linger, his voice low and laced with a hint of warning. Brother Liu is truly impressive, finding out Xiao Qian's name so quickly. Liu gave an awkward smile, his hand tightening around his fan. I just happened to overhear someone mention it. Don't misunderstand, Brother Sikong. I just didn't expect the skilled young Master Lin Qian to be so delicate. At first glance, I almost mistook him for a young lady. Sikong Chongshan, displeased by the man's gaze, casually put his arm around Zhao Linger again. Don't let his slender build fool you. He hates being called a girl. Zhao Linger, subtly wrapping an arm around Sikong Chongshan's waist, discreetly pinched him hard. Suppressing a shudder, Sikong Chongshan forced out a question through gritted teeth. You're here for the exam too, right? Shouldn't you be heading to the examination hall? Zhao Linger whispered behind him. Who was that? Sikong Chongshan's tone was indifferent. Liu, the second son of the current prime minister. He openly studied Zhao Linger as he spoke, leaning in slightly. When Zhao Linger remained unresponsive, lost in thought, stroking his chin, Sikong Chongshan, unable to bear the slight, grinned. What's wrong, Xiao Qianqian? Fallen for him, have you? Zhao Linger turned around with a look of disgust and scoffed. Sikong Chongshan cringed inwardly. What's with that look? Ignoring the imaginative man, Zhao Linger stood up abruptly, preparing to leave. I'm going to the examination hall. Don't bother me. The first exam was simply an essay. The 5 classics his father had taught him since childhood would prove useful now. He began to write furiously. The exam itself was no challenge, but the thought of his father brought a pang of sadness. Suddenly, the sound of a wooden stick striking a head echoed through the hall, followed by a teacher's angry roar. Wake up! Sikong Chongshan bolted awake, clutching his head, the pain jarring him. Zhao Linger's melancholic mood vanished at the sight of him. The teacher struck him again with the stick, the sound reverberating through the hall. You dare to sleep during such an important exam. He brandished the stick furiously, his hair bristling. Have you finished your paper? You dare sleep before you're done? Sikong Chongshan, eyes still heavy with sleep, casually picked up his paper and handed it to the teacher. Of course I'm finished. The teacher impassively accepted the exam paper, a flicker of surprise crossing his face. He hadn't expected Sikong Chongshan to actually finish, and so neatly at that. Irritated, he set the paper down, his wooden cane tapping against his back. Finished or not, no sleeping, he grumbled. The arrogance of youth these days. After the teacher left, Zhao Linger hissed at her companion. Are you an idiot? How could you possibly be finished already? Sikong, unfazed by the misunderstanding, scratched the back of his neck. But I really am finished, he replied mildly. Zhao Linger raised a hand to her lips, whispering urgently. Even so, don't provoke the teacher. He might kick you out. A touch of warmth bloomed in Sikong's chest. No one had ever shown such concern for him before. I know, he murmured back. Then, fearing she hadn't heard, he propped his chin on his hand and added, his voice a low, indulgent rumble, idiot, I know. Zhao Linger, having clearly heard the second remark, clenched her brush so tightly her knuckles whitened. You little, she exploded, but her outburst was cut short by the sharp rap of the teacher's cane on her desk. This time, the warning was for her. No talking during the exam, the teacher scolded. The two of you chatting away, showing no respect for your elders, utterly lacking in manners. As Zhao Linger fumed, she glanced at Sikong's easy grin and realized something she hadn't noticed before. Having someone beside her, even if just a silent presence, was strangely comforting. A sudden commotion erupted outside. The Yuanshan Academy results are posted, someone shouted, and a wave of excited students surged towards the notice board, jostling for a view. Yi, Sikong Chongshan's attendant, pushed his way through the crowd, scanning the list for his master's name. Moments later, he burst back out, beaming. Young master, wonderful news. Both you and young master Lin Qian are on the list. Sikong Chongshan, still lounging with his head propped on his arm, replied nonchalantly, the exam was so simple, of course I passed. Beside him, Zhao Linger snorted, reminding him, you nearly got thrown out by the teacher. Sikong Chongshan averted his gaze. That was just a minor mishap, he mumbled. Sleeping during an exam, and you call a mishap? Zhao Linger retorted. Yi, meanwhile, pumped his fist excitedly. So, passing the exam means you're in the academy, right? Sikong Chongshan dashed his hopes. There's a second exam. Aye bilinkit bejil did it. A second exam? An elderly teacher emerged from the academy, his gait slow and measured. Candidates, he announced, stroking his beard, you've all seen the results. Those who didn't make the list will have to try again next time. Those who have passed, follow me to the academy's training grounds for the second examination. Murmurs of astonishment rippled through the crowd. A second exam? Sikong Chongshan, seemingly unperturbed, gestured to Zhao Linger. Come on, he said, and headed towards the training grounds. On the training grounds, the candidates awkwardly handled the bows and arrows provided. I have no idea how to use this, one muttered. Surely the second exam isn't archery? The curly-haired girl fumbled with her bow, accidentally poking Zhao Linger in the back. Turning around with a startled expression, she quickly apologized to the person she'd poked. Sikong Chongshan and Zhao Linger instantly recognized her as the girl from the inn. Her face paled. Please, she begged, don't tell anyone. I barely made it through the first round. Don't expose me. Zhao Linger raised an eyebrow. I don't care, she said, thinking to herself, as if I'd announced that there's a girl disguised as a boy in the academy. The curly-haired girl turned pleadingly to Sikong Chongshan, her eyes brimming with tears. Sikong, Chongshan grinned. I won't tell anyone there's a woman here, he assured her. I'll keep an eye on him for you, Zhao Linger added, earning a glare from Sikong. I'll tell everyone your secret, he threatened. Don't worry, young Master Lin, Zhao Linger retorted. With your brutish manner, no one would believe you if you said she was a girl. Infuriated, Sikong grabbed her and gave her a playful noogie. You little brat, do you want to die? Zhao Linger snarled, grabbing Sikong's neck in a headlock. If that's how you feel, she said, tightening her grip, let me show you what brutish really means. Sikong Chongshan, struggling to breathe, gasped. This strength proves my point. The curly-haired girl, watching their antics, burst into laughter. Just then, a voice boomed across the training grounds. Attention, candidates. The second entrance examination is about to begin. A man holding a lottery drum stepped forward. Greetings, he announced. I'm the examiner for the second exam. You may call me Master Sunday. Let me explain the rules. Master Sunbeamed. This exam is different from previous years. You'll be paired up, and each pair will design their own course in the back mountains. Whoever hits their opponent wins. A wave of panic rippled through the examinees. Why this kind of exam? Isn't it too dangerous? Does only one person from each pair advance? Master Sun reassured them. Don't worry, everyone. The arrowheads are covered in cloth dipped in dye powder. You each get 3. You have 3 hours. Draw lots, and those with matching numbers are paired. After a successful hit, a teacher will confirm. If neither of you hits the other, you both fail. Zhao Linger was taken aback. They're eliminating half the candidates right off the bat. This exam is brutal. The examinees began drawing their numbers from the lottery barrel. Sikong Chongshan, holding a red ribbon, watched as Zhao Linger tied a small pouch to his arm. I'm number 7, he said. The curly-haired girl peered from behind him, curious. What number did young Master Lin draw? Zhao Linger carefully examined the number on his arm. I'm 9. I wonder who the other 9 is. He scanned the crowd, searching. Zhao Linger froze. His eyes widened as he recognized the other number 9. It was Luoyu, who, spotting them, approached with a fan in hand and a sly smile. What a pity. My opponent isn't Sikong Chongshan. He curled his lip, feigning disappointment. Rumor has it, Brother Sikong's swordsmanship is exceptional. I was hoping for a chance to witness it myself. It seems I'm out of luck. To his surprise, Sikong Chongshan readily admitted, I'm no swordsman, but you'd better watch out for Xiao Qian's swordsmanship. Luoyu chuckled, fanning himself languidly. So confident in young Master Lin, are you? Sikong Chongshan grinned, brimming with confidence. He'll win, without a doubt. Zhao Linger stared at him, incredulous. Where does that confidence come from? Liu, not to be outdone, proposed a wager. Since Brother Sikong is so certain, how about a bet? Sikong Chongshan readily agreed. Liu set the terms. If I win, you spend the night under the waterfall in the back mountains. And vice versa. Zhao Linger watched their exchange, bewildered. Are you too crazy? He exclaimed, flabbergasted. The two continued their bickering as usual. Sikong Chongshan taunted. Don't start crying when you lose. Liu retorted. Worry about getting into the academy before you boast. Zhao Linger, quiver in hand, turned to head towards the designated area when the curly-haired girl tugged at his sleeve. Her expression was serious. Be careful of Liu, she warned. Last time I was being harassed, and he saw it all, but did nothing. He's a hypocrite, and that's the most dangerous kind. Zhao Linger was surprised. He hadn't realized Liu had been present. With a final warning, be careful. The curly-haired girl turned and ran towards the back mountains. Zhao Linger, cheeks flushed, thought to himself, she's so cute. He turned back to call out to Sikong Chongshan. I'm heading in. Let's split up. But Sikong Chongshan caught his hand, pulling him back. A note of urgency in his voice. He said, Xiao Qian, be careful. I don't want to enter the academy alone. Zhao Linger pulled his hand away, flustered, and quickly changed the subject. I'll be fine. You should find your partner too. With a sigh, he started towards the mountains, waving goodbye to Sikong Chongshan. Let's split up for now. I'll see you later. Reaching the forested slopes, Zhao Linger finally exhaled, a sense of relief washing over him. He stared at his hand, still feeling the lingering warmth of Sikong Chongshan's touch. That was close, he thought, his face flushing crimson. He clapped his hands to his face, trying to dispel the thoughts swirling in his head. Focus, he told himself. The exam is about to start. The sound of a gong resonated through the air. The second exam had begun. The rules were simple. Hit your assigned opponent within 3 hours. Zhao Linger's expression turned serious. If one wins, the other can't enter the academy. To enter, one leaves. What is this academy thinking? Suddenly, an arrow whizzed past him. He dodged just in time, his eyes widening in alarm. Is that Luoyu? He wondered, his heart pounding. Another arrow flew towards him. He ducked behind a tree, his breath coming in ragged gasps. It has to be Luoyu, he thought grimly. Peeking out from behind the tree, he assessed the situation. 2 arrows fired, 1 remaining. If I can dodge the last one, I can counterattack. But I need to find his position. As Zhao Linger suspected, the 3rd arrow came swiftly. He ducked low, the movement fluid and practiced, and reached for the sword strapped to his back. He thought. But before Zhao Linger could draw his blade, a 4th arrow whizzed towards him. He stared, caught completely off guard. Suddenly, Sikong Chongshan burst forward, grabbing Zhao Linger and shielding him with his own body. Red dye instantly bloomed across Sikong Chongshan's shoulder. Zhao Linger cried out in alarm. Hidden amongst the trees, Luoyu finally emerged. Young Master Sikong did follow after all, she said, a smirk playing on her lips. And just in time, too. Luoyu stood there, fearless, feigning a demure smile. What luck! I caught a big fish today. Beside her, Zhao Linger anxiously asked, Sikong Chongshan, your arm. What about your arm? Sikong Chongshan's expression remained calm. I'm Fina. What good does it do her to hit me? Sikong Chongshan frowned. You weren't even my target. I just didn't expect to run into you while tracking my own opponent. Luoyu's smile widened. No use, you say? Don't worry about that. You're already out. Suddenly, a man appeared behind Sikong Chongshan. He let out an excited whoop. Impressive. As expected of Luoyu, the man continued to praise her with a grin. Thank you for helping me eliminate my opponent. Luoyu's smile broadened. And thank you for giving me all your arrows. Sikong Chongshan slowly withdrew an arrow from his quiver. He realized he'd been tricked. These two were working together. He notched the arrow, aimed at Luoyu, and let it fly. Luoyu dodged swiftly. The arrow missed, grazing her shoulder. She taunted him. Useless. But Sikong Chongshan hadn't intended to hit her. While Luoyu was still recovering from the near miss, he shouted to Zhao Linger, Now, let's go. The two vanished, leaving Luoyu standing alone. Sikong Chongshan surveyed the cave. Let's wait here for a while. It'll be hard for anyone to find us. Luoyu is tricky. We need a plan. They entered the cave. Sikong Chongshan continued to chatter nervously. I can't see a thing. I hope there aren't any bugs or bats in here. That would be awful. But Zhao Linger remained silent, head bowed, consumed by worry. Losing meant he wouldn't get into the academy. He recalled Sikong Chongshan's earlier warning. Be careful. I don't want to enter the academy alone. Unable to accept that outcome, Zhao Linger reached out and tried to remove Sikong Chongshan's outer robe. Sikong Chongshan immediately panicked. What are you doing? To his dismay, the red dye had already seeped through to Sikong Chongshan's underclothes. He reached out a trembling hand and touched the stain. Ow! Zhao Linger rubbed at the stain. What kind of dye is this? How we get it off? Sikong Chongshan replied quietly. I doubt it comes off. He knew the academy would have anticipated this. The dye was undoubtedly permanent. Zhao Linger hung his head, burying his face in Sikong Chongshan's shoulder, his voice thick with guilt and self-reproach. I am sorry. He clutched the back of Sikong Chongshan's robe, his tears soaking the fabric. He continued to apologize profusely. Sikong Chongshan sighed, rubbing his forehead. Days of travel to get to the academy, and I get dragged into someone else's mess. He gently pulled Zhao Linger's hand away and closed his eyes. And now, thanks to someone, I'm out of the competition. How frustrating. Sikong Chongshan chuckled softly and reached out to pat Zhao Linger's head consolingly. But seeing as this little miss is crying for my sake, he ruffled Zhao Linger's hair. I suppose I can forgive him. I'm so magnanimous. Zhao Linger wiped his tears with his sleeve and muttered, Idiot. Sikong Chongshan rolled his eyes. You're supposed to be touched, not call me names. Zhao Linger looked down, his voice catching slightly. Why? Why did you help me? Sikong Chongshan paused, considering his words. I just thought you'd regret it if you didn't get into the academy. And haven't you still got a score to settle? He turned away, hands on his hips. Luoyu is a cunning and stubborn one. I met her a few times when my father was still serving in the court. Zhao Linger listened intently. Luoyu's swordsmanship is exceptional, but she has a fatal weakness. He paused, a thought striking him. Your swordsmanship was impressive just now, and your reflexes are sharp. Why? Why did you pretend not to know how to fight? Sikong Chongshan hadn't expected Zhao Linger to be so observant. Caught off guard, he scratched his head awkwardly, unsure how to explain himself. Just then, footsteps echoed from outside the cave. Sikong Chongshan reacted swiftly clamping a hand over Zhao Linger's mouth. "Don't make a sound," he whispered. Zhao Linger stared at him, wide-eyed, taking in Sikong Chongshan's sharp reflexes. Sikong Chongshan peered cautiously outside. Who could it be? "Stay hidden in here," he urged. "I'm already out of the competition. It doesn't matter if I get hit again." Their faces were inches apart. Zhao Linger blushed crimson, his heart pounding in his chest. In the stillness of the night, a shadowy figure wandered aimlessly, an aura of menace clinging to them, a sword strapped to their back. Sikong Chongshan pressed Zhao Linger against a tree, shielding him from view, and gestured for silence. Zhao Linger's blush deepened as the approaching footsteps grew louder. Sikong Chongshan's eyes narrowed, a dangerous glint in them, fixed on what lay ahead. Listening to the steadily approaching footsteps, Sikong Chongshan gripped his bow tightly, ready to fight to the death. Tension crackled between them. Involuntarily, Sikong Chongshan pulled Zhao Linger closer, a strange sweetness mingling with the fear. When the footsteps were barely a meter away, Sikong Chongshan's face hardened with resolve. He prepared to confront his pursuer. Suddenly, he sprang from behind the tree, bow raised, and roared, "Stop! Don't move!" He radiated an aura of command. The figure he'd targeted shrieked in terror. It was a girl, disguised in men's clothing. Both Sikong Chongshan and Zhao Linger froze, stunned into silence. Zhao Linger cautiously emerged from behind a tree. As Zhao Linger stepped into view, the girl, Zhonwan, pointed at them in astonishment. "It's you," she exclaimed. They stared back, speechless. Zhonwan, still shaken, clutched the pouch at her chest. "You scare me to death. It's so dark out here, I thought I'd seen a ghost." Sikong Chongshan sighed, a weary expression on his face. "Fancy meeting you here," he said flatly. Zhonwan noticed the large red stain on Sikong Chongshan's shoulder. "Brother Sikong," she asked with concern, "that die, were you hit?" Sikong Chongshan offered an embarrassed laugh. "It was an accident," he mumbled. Zhao Linger watched them, a knot of unease forming in his stomach. To their surprise, Zhonwan exclaimed, "Thank goodness. As long as it wasn't young Master Lin who hit you. But how did you lose so quickly?" Sikong Chongshan bristled at the implication. Zhonwan puffed out her chest, her eyes shining. "We've met several times now, and I haven't even introduced myself. I'm Zhonwan. My real name is Zhonwan," she added, as if for emphasis. Both Sikong Chongshan and Zhao Linger stared at her in astonishment. "Zhou, young Master Zhou," Zhao Linger finally managed. "Why are you disguised like this at the academy?" "My parents only care about my younger brother," Zhonwan explained. "They've always favored him. I couldn't stand it anymore, so I came here." She continued, "Everyone has prepared so long for this exam. They all have such high hopes for the academy, and I have to be the one to knock them down." She lowered her head sadly. At the mention of Liu, Zhao Linger's thoughts raced. His swordsmanship seemed superior to mine. If it were any other contest, I might have a chance. The more he thought about it, the more anxious he became, a palpable tension radiating from him. He desperately searched for a strategy. "About Liu," Zhao Linger turned to Sikong Chongshan. "You didn't finish explaining how to beat him." Sikong Chongshan nodded. "If he's moving, we can't hit him. We need to make him stay still. His partner has probably already reported to the examiner, leaving only Luoyu." A mischievous glint sparked in Sikong Chongshan's eyes. An idea had struck him. "Don't worry," he said. "I just need something from you, Xiao Qian." Zhao Linger looked bewildered. "What is it? I don't even know what you're talking about." Sikong Chongshan grinned, a hint of mischief in his eyes. "I'm going to make Liu taste fear," he declared. Zhonwan and Zhao Linger were suddenly gripped by a sense of foreboding. The air around them seemed to grow colder, raising goosebumps on their skin. In the back mountains of Yuanshan Academy, a lone figure wandered aimlessly. The mountain was cloaked in trees, allowing only slivers of light to penetrate the dense canopy. Zhao Linger, bow and arrow in hand, marveled at the sheer size of the back mountains. Since the exam had begun, he hadn't encountered many other competitors. As he walked, he pondered the difficulty of achieving victory in Yuanshan Academy's test. Then, lowering his head, he murmured, "I want to help too. Let me come along." Zhonwan called out, "Young Master Lin." Zhao Linger turned his head. But haven't you found your assigned opponent yet? What about your own task? You'll run out of time. Zhongyuan blushed, scratching her head awkwardly. I've been searching for ages, but I haven't seen my opponent. This back mountain is huge. I thought I'd stick with you. Soon, they were setting a trap in a sun-drenched clearing, waiting for Liu. Given his skill, they reasoned he would stumble upon them before long. Suddenly, an arrow whizzed towards Zhao Linger. Hearing Zhongyuan's warning cry, he narrowly dodged the projectile. Liu, still in his firing stance, stared in astonishment at the missed shot. He couldn't believe his arrow had missed its mark. He was even more surprised to find someone hiding in the undergrowth. The three of them now formed a tense triangle. No one dared to make the first move. Crouched in the bushes, Zhongyuan kept watch for Zhao Linger. It was thanks to her that he had evaded Liu's arrow. Zhao Linger turned and offered a heartfelt thank you to the figure hidden amongst the foliage. His smile was genuine, without a trace of pretense. Observing this, Liu thought to himself, I knew someone would help him, but I never expected it wouldn't be Sikong Chongshan, which means Sikong Chongshan must be somewhere nearby, waiting for the right moment to strike. Just as this thought crossed his mind, Sikong Chongshan appeared behind Liu. With a swift sidestep, Liu dodged the arrow Sikong had fired. It whistled past his ear, a chillingly close call. Sikong Chongshan was equally surprised. He couldn't believe Liu had evaded a shot so easily. As he stood momentarily stunned, a hand suddenly grabbed his collar. The sudden contact snapped Sikong Chongshan back to reality. But it was too late. Liu slammed him against a tree. Sikong Chongshan's back hit the trunk with a thud, and he stifled a groan of pain. Liu sneered. You're completely unskilled. Did you really think I'd fall for such an obvious trap? Just then, Zhao Linger charged at Liu with his sword, intervening just in time to save Sikong Chongshan. It was a classic damsel in distress scenario, reversed. Liu clutched his wounded arm, but the blood continued to flow. His face darkened as the pain shot through his body, leaving him drenched in a cold sweat. He was trapped. Suddenly, a blade was pressed against his throat. Liu stared in disbelief. He was now in a truly precarious position. I know you're not happy, Zhao Linger said, the soft blade unwavering, but I suggest you stay very still. The blade, hidden on Zhao Linger, had been the final piece of their plan. Sikong Chongshan rubbed his sore neck, then looked at Zhao Linger with a smile filled with affection. Zhongyuan, witnessing the scene, was smitten. Young Master Lin is so handsome, she whispered, her eyes shining with admiration. Liu, his bound hands straining against their restraints, glared at them with disdain. He considered their tactics utterly despicable. He was completely immobilized, tied tightly to the tree. No matter how hard he struggled, he couldn't break free. Was this it? Was he truly defeated? He hadn't anticipated Zhao Linger concealing a blade. Ignoring Liu's struggles, they congratulated themselves on the success of their plan. They had captured him in one swift move. Liu, however, continued to taunt Sikong Chongshan. So this is all you're capable of? Resorting to such underhanded tricks to defeat me. What kind of victory is that? Sikong Chongshan crossed his arms and replied dismissively, I think you misunderstand. I never needed to beat you. Xiao Qian's victory was all that mattered. No one expected Sikong Chongshan to actually. A gag, fashioned from a bag, tied around his arm, stifled Liu's words. His mind seethed, curses against Sikong Chongshan churning within him. Then a voice urged Zhao Linger, hurry up and do it. Time is running out. Zhao Linger lifted the bow, an arrow. The voice beside him continued its insistent prodding. Faster. You're going to run out of time. Yet Zhao Linger's movements remained agonizingly slow. He notched the arrow, but his hand lingered, frozen. The arrow remained unloosed. What was Zhao Linger hesitating about? The two figures beside him, exasperated, urged him on, but still the arrow held. His mind raced, replaying the events that had led to this moment, the words spoken, the implications. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Was there something amiss with the rules of this examination? Lost in thought, he barely registered the anxious voice behind him. Xiao Qian, what's wrong? Suddenly, Zhao Linger cried out, I understand. Chongshan, we can't win this exam. His words hung in the air, silencing the frantic whispers. Sikong Chongshan and Zhongyuan stared at him, bewildered. What did he mean? How could they enter the academy academy without winning. Even Luoyu, bound to the tree, looked at Zhao Linger with confusion. Zhao Linger opened his mouth to explain, but before he could utter a word, a resounding boom echoed through the air. Fireworks launched from Yuanshan Academy. The four of them looked up, captivated. Before Zhao Linger could share his revelation, the examination was over. Zhonwan stared at the sky, surprised. Time had flown by. In the blink of an eye, the exam had concluded. A voice called out, instructing all candidates to return to the academy. At the summons, the examinees began to make their way back, their voices a rising murmur of speculation and excitement. Listening to the snippets of conversation, Zhao Linger felt his suspicions confirmed. There was something wrong with this examination. It defied the expected rules. The original assumption was a one-on-one elimination, having the number of candidates. But the reality was far different. Only 2 out of 10 had succeeded. 8 out of 10 had been eliminated. Master Sun, pipe clenched between his teeth, grinned, a wide, almost unsettling smile splitting his face. "Well done, everyone," he announced. "We'll be announcing the results shortly." A voice from the crowd called out, "Master Sun." A hand shot up in a victory sign. "I beat my opponent. Pleased to make your acquaintance." Master Sun fixed the young man with a chilling stare, a predatory smile playing on his lips. My, he purred, "Aren't you the impressive one?" The boastful youth, oblivious to the undercurrent of mockery, continued to preen. "You're too kind, master." Zhao Linger and Sikong Chongshan, standing further back, exchanged a look. Zhao Linger watched the scene unfold, a flicker of annoyance in his eyes. "Where does he get his confidence?" he muttered. Master Sun, leaning on his pipe, his smile unwavering, finally spoke. "Well then, kindly leave the academy." Zhao Linger's jaw dropped. The victorious youth had won the battle, but lost the war. The word struck Sikong Chongshan and Zhonwan like a thunderbolt. They hadn't anticipated such a twist. In the distance, Luoyu hung his head. He, who had been so focused on winning, felt a pang of shame. The previously triumphant youth was now in a state of panic, the reality of a situation crashing down around him. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Master Sun exhaled a plume of smoke, his face impassive. When, he asked, his voice laced with irony, "Did I ever say that winning guaranteed entry into the academy? The academy has no use for students who resort to such ruthless tactics, to strike a killing blow against a fellow student. As for those who did not achieve victory, whether through kindness or sheer luck, do not think that entering the academy means you are safe. Any violation of the academy's rules will result in expulsion. But before that, congratulations to you all. Listen carefully. Tomorrow, bring all your belongings and report to the academy. And don't forget your tuition fees." With that, Master Sun sighed, a satisfied smile spreading across his face. Zhonwan was ecstatic, scarcely able to believe her ears. Behind her, Luoyu remained impassive. Meanwhile, Sikong Chongshan, hearing the news, broke into a grin. His objective had been achieved. Master Sun, pipe still clutched in his teeth, beamed. "Welcome," he boomed, "to Yuanshan Academy." And on Zhao Linger's face, a quiet smile bloomed. He was finally inside Yuanshan Academy, ready to uncover the truth, to avenge my parents. My friend lay in a pool of blood, a gruesome stain blossoming across his chest. Carefully, I tried to lift him, my fingers trembling uncontrollably. But I couldn't raise him. I could only watch as his breath left him. The grief was so profound, I wished for death myself. The heavens opened that day, the rain coming down in sheets. I felt nothing, only the slow, agonizing movement of my blood-soaked hand as the crimson liquid dripped down my arm. Suddenly, my eyes snapped open. A nightmare. Tangled strands of hair clung to my forehead, the lingering sorrow a heavy weight in my chest. Zhao Linger rubbed his throbbing temples, beads of sweat tracing paths down his cheeks. He knew the dream all too well. It was no mere figment of his imagination, but a chilling echo of reality. The image of his teacher, pipe clenched between his teeth, flashed in his mind, a stern reminder not to be late for class tomorrow. He had to get up. A billion hopefuls had been eliminated in the second examination. Only a handful of us had made it into Yuanshan Academy. He threw on his clothes, lost in thought. The headmaster was away, leaving Master Sun in charge. A flicker of annoyance twisted his lips, his elegant brows furrowing. He lifted his arm, muttering about the ridiculously long and wide sleeves. He was in. Now what? Why had the imperial court never investigated his family's massacre all those years ago? And why had his father come to Yuanshan Academy in the end? What were those men in black so desperate to find? Had his father hidden something within the academy? He needed to understand the connection. As Zhao Linger opened his door, a teasing voice broke through his contemplation. He pushed his questions aside and looked up, his expression carefully neutral. Two unwelcome figures stood before him, their words dripping with false camaraderie. "Hey, Brother Lin, coming to class?" Ignoring Zhao Linger's lack of response, one of them grabbed his wrist. A figure appeared behind them like a guardian angel. Sikong Chongshan's long fingers closed around Zhao Linger's arm, pulling him free. His dark eyes flashed with a possessive glint. "We have some business to attend to," he said, his voice a low warning. "You two go on ahead." The two students scowled, then waved dismissively. "Don't be late then." Sikong Chongshan took Zhao Linger's hand, reassuring him there was no need to apologize. But anger flared within Zhao Linger. "Let go of me," he snapped. He yanked his hand back, bristling with resentment. Sikong Chongshan studied his face, then spoke softly. "Do you really think you can get along with them? Maintain this charade. If I hadn't shown up, how would you have gotten rid of them? Told them you're a woman, and they shouldn't touch you?" Zhao Linger's anger intensified, his high ponytail swaying with the force of his movements. "Sikong Chongshan, could you keep your voice down?" Sikong Chongshan's hand rested gently on Zhao Linger's head, his gaze softening. "I won't tell," he murmured. "It's our little secret." It was the first time a man had touched him like that. Heat flooded his cheeks, the anger dissipating like smoke. But he knew what he had to do. He stepped back, putting distance between them. "Stop teasing me," he said, his voice tight. "Stop making jokes about who I am. I'll repay you for this," Zhao Linger called out, his voice strained. "I don't need your condescending help." He turned and walked away, his hand clenching into a fist inside his wide sleeve. "Just stay away from me," he muttered. "I'll only bring you misfortune." Sikong Chongshan stood frozen, his mind a blank. What had just happened? He watched Zhao Linger's solitary figure disappear down the path. Zhonwan, on his way to class, spotted him and waved enthusiastically. Zhao Linger responded with a curt nod and continued on his way, leaving Zhonwan bewildered. He hurried over to Sikong Chongshan, his curly hair practically vibrating with confusion. "What's wrong with Linger today? Did you upset him?" Around them, other students whispered amongst themselves. "That Lin Qian is strange. I heard he injured Liu during the exam. He's so aloof. It's infuriating. He's probably just a sneaky little cheat." Zhao Linger sat in class, tuning out the whispers. He had more important things to worry about. He opened his textbook and began to read. Liu studied until evening, finally reluctantly heading back to his room. As he reached his door, he found Lin Qian standing there waiting for him. Zhao Linger was strikingly beautiful, a true pearl of elegance. A scholarly air hung about him, and he held a small bottle in his hand. Liu stared intently. "What are you doing at my door so late at night?" Zhao Linger didn't reply, but tossed him the bottle. Liu caught it with a swift hand, his brow furrowing immediately. What could this small, red bottle contain? Meanwhile, elsewhere, Master Sun puffed on his pipe, casually inquiring about Sikong Chongshan's father. Sikong Chongshan leaned back languidly. "My old man's doing fine. Same as always after all these years. And you're the same as always too. But old son, what do you really want to ask me? Having me come here so late at night, is it about the true purpose of the Academy's second exam? Are you really just trying to maintain harmony within the student body by not accepting hunters? This exam, it's more like weeding out the truly talented. Don't you think so, Sikong Chongshan?" He took a sip of tea, speculating casually. Or perhaps it's to eliminate potentially dangerous individuals, assassins, even. Master Sun, surprised by his astute observation, paused his smoking. "Think what you will. I'm not telling you." He studied the master's prized son, a hint of admiration in his eyes. "Indeed, only you seem to have realized that this game isn't meant to be won." Sikong Chongshan, sipping his tea, looked puzzled. "What are you talking about? I'm not the only one who figured out you can't win." Liu, examining the bottle in his hand, raised a curious eyebrow. "You're not sleeping just to deliver this to me, are you?" Zhao Linger explained, "It's healing medicine. I used it whenever I was injured before. Don't let the small bottle fool you. It's quite effective." He turned to leave, offering a brief farewell as he passed Liu. "Nothing else, then. I'll be going." Master Sun was clearly agitated, his surprise evident. "Not just you? Who else figured it out?" Sikong Chongshan blocked him with his fan again, then folded his arms with a playful smirk. I'm not telling you. Let's just say it's an interesting fellow. Luoyu clutched the bottle tightly, a wave of gratitude washing over him. He was used to being a mere puppet, rarely experiencing such care. Zhao Linger sighed, starting his day with a familiar feeling of weariness. Ever since I entered this academy, I've been constantly plagued by trouble. But the biggest headache of all is Chongshan. Sikong Chongshan was already waiting outside Zhao Linger's door, leaning casually against the frame. He straightened up with a lazy greeting as Zhao Linger emerged. This smooth, practiced maneuver startled Zhao Linger. What are you doing here so early? You persistent. He trailed off, glancing down. Surprised, little Qian? I switched rooms. I'm right next door now. Zhao Linger's face darkened, his delicate features twitching slightly as if mourning the loss of his freedom. He walked towards the lecture hall in silence, his small hands clenched in frustration. Chongshan, completely oblivious, seemed perplexed. What's with that reaction? Zhao Linger quickened his pace, eager to escape Chongshan's presence. Someone burdened with his worries didn't deserve companionship. Luoyu arrived just then, interrupting their tense exchange. Good morning, Lin Qian. Sikong, you're here too? They glared at each other, leaving Luoyu caught awkwardly in the middle. Neither of them was easy to deal with. He suddenly moved closer to Zhao Linger, revealing a hidden hand holding yesterday's medicine bottle. Zhao Linger, avoiding their gazes, waved dismissively, desperate to escape. If there's nothing else, I'll be going. It was Liu, the popular and charming young gentleman, who replied. Meanwhile, Chongshan stood with his arms crossed, looking thoroughly displeased. He glanced down thoughtfully, then murmured to the flamboyant Thu, "You haven't forgotten our wager, have you?" Luoyu retorted without missing a beat, maintaining his air of aristocratic composure. Of course I remember. But that contest was a draw, wasn't it? They began to part ways. Chongshan turned his head, outlining his plan. In that case, meet me at the waterfall behind the mountain at noon. Luoyu followed, readily accepting the challenge. I'll be there. Zhao Linger, carrying a bowl of food, searched for a place to sit. The hall was bustling with people. Standing in the middle of the crowd, he quickly caught the eye of a newcomer. The newcomer deliberately walked towards him and bumped hard into his shoulder. Zhao Linger was holding a bowl of hot soup, which flew from his grasp upon impact. With a sharp crack, the wooden bowl shattered on the floor. Hot soup splashed onto Zhao Linger, his robes steaming slightly. The culprit, showing no remorse, shouted a loud and insincere apology. He sized up the mud-caked Zhao Linger with a contemptuous sneer, his chi condensation realm aura practically vibrating with mockery. So it's you. Don't you know to watch where you're going, little Linger? Zhao Linger lowered his head, already aware the bump had been deliberate. This submissive gesture only seemed to embolden the other student. Zhao Linger didn't reply, turning swiftly to leave the dining hall. The other student, however, wouldn't let it go. You going to ignore me? At least say something. The more he spoke, the angrier he seemed to become, as if he were the one who'd been wronged. He lunged forward. He grabbed Zhao Linger's sleeve. Don't you dare run. A bystander, momentarily moved by a flicker of sympathy, leaned in and whispered, Master Sun's here. You should probably calm down. Before Zhao Linger could react, the grip on his sleeve vanished. He was shoved roughly to the ground. The other student continued to rant. He's such a sissy. Looks neither male nor female. Serves him right for getting knocked around. Zhao Linger looked down at his soiled robes, his long lashes concealing his expression. It's fine, he murmured. None of this matters to me. He rose with a desolate air, walking stiffly through the crowd, their whispers of mockery echoing around him. The irony wasn't lost on him. Suppressing his sorrow, Zhao Linger sought a quiet corner to compose himself. A bark broke through his thoughts. A small puppy, seemingly sensing his distress, waddled towards him. Zhao Linger stared at the puppy, lost in thought, as if transported back to happier memories. The oppressive sadness seemed to lessen. He scooped up the fluffy puppy, its cheeks rosy. Where did you come from, little one? Are you a stray? The puppy's soft fur brought back the memory of a friend holding a similar dog. They had vowed to be friends forever. One hand cradling the puppy, Zhao Linger frantically wiped away tears with the other. The pain he kept bottled up finally overflowed. The puppy, nestled in his arms, began to whimper, as if trying to comfort him. It wriggled, placing its paws on his face and licking him with its tiny tongue. Zhao Linger lifted the puppy, his voice hoarse. Are you trying to comfort me? but you shouldn't get too close. Just like that Sikong Chongshan. Being close to me only brings trouble, but I won't let anything happen to you. Master Sun stood at the lectern, rapping lightly on the desk. To alleviate the hardships of your studies, he announced, placing both hands on the desk, the academy has decided to take you all on a field trip. We're going to Gushin Village for a day of outdoor lessons. Some students erupted in excited chatter. Are we going on a picnic to Gushin Village? One shouted. Zhao Linger, chin resting on his hand, absorbed the news. A field trip, he thought to himself. Master Sun asked perfunctorily. I assume there are no objections? A student raised his hand. Studying isn't hard, he countered. Master Sun's brow furrowed, his eyes flashing dangerously. Master Sun pointed at the dissenting student. Two others immediately grabbed him and dragged him screaming from the classroom. The remaining students, witnessing the scene, fell silent, frozen in their seats. Master Sun clapped his hands together with a saccharine smile. It seems we have no further objections to this outing. He allowed a booming laugh. Zhao Linger, face impassive, felt a knot of unease in his stomach. He had a bad feeling about this. Master Sun suddenly noticed two empty desks. Where are Sikong Chongshan and Lo Yu? Why aren't they in class? A girl with curly hair wiped nervously at her brow. They should be back soon, she stammered. Meanwhile, a dripping, wet Sikong Chongshan, dressed in his academy uniform, addressed Liu. Just apologize, and I'll let you out. Liu, equally soaked, was shivering. His teeth chattered, but he remained defiant. You're the one who's about to give up. They were standing under a waterfall, enduring the icy spray. So cold, they both exclaimed, yet neither would budge. The curly-haired girl offered an embarrassed explanation. They're having a contest to see who can stand under the cold water the longest. Master Sun was speechless. Are they insane? 2 days later, the field trip to Gushin Village commenced. The students groaned. It's so far, they complained. Master Sun ran a hand through his hair in exasperation. Honestly, you young people, you need to focus on physical training, not just your studies. As soon as he said this, the student bristled, glaring resentfully at him as he lounged comfortably in the cart. You have the nerve to talk, he grumbled, lying there like that. Zhao Linger glanced around, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. Is Chongshan not here? He asked the curly-haired girl beside him. The girl's face was blank, her expression one of utter speechlessness. They're in the back, she finally deadpanned, referring to Sikong Chongshan and Liu. Both Sikong Chongshan and Liu were in identical, miserable poses, sneezing incessantly and shivering violently. Soaked to the bone, they'd caught a chill from their prolonged drenching. Master Sun addressed the elderly driver. Lu Bo, are we almost there? He inquired. Almost, Lu Bo replied quickly. Just up ahead. Lu Bo beamed, showering Master Sun with praise. You are truly good people. You've been such a great help to us. The students, overhearing this, exchanged bewildered glances. After what felt like an eternity on the road, they finally arrived at Gushin Village. We're finally here, the students cheered, their voices filled with relief as they reached the village entrance. Villagers were already waiting, their faces alight with anticipation. The children are finally here, they murmured amongst themselves. An older woman approached them. It's so wonderful that you could come and help, she said. The orchard always suffers because we're short-handed. Master Sun chuckled. Well, we'll certainly have enough hands this time. The villagers, their faces flushed with genuine gratitude, thanked the students profusely. You are truly kind. Thank you so much. The students' faces fell. The realization dawned on them. Their outdoor lesson was nothing more than manual labor. One student, unable to contain his frustration, stormed forward and grabbed Master Sun by the collar. I knew it, he raged. You did this on purpose. What fresh air. This is just... He gestured angrily towards the sprawling orchard. This enormous orchard. How long are we supposed to pick fruit? Master Sun shrugged, a hint of amusement in his eyes. Well, you don't have to work if you don't want to, he said calmly. But no work, no food. The student's face crumpled. This is bullying, he wailed. Two other students stood behind them, sighing and exchanging looks of exasperation. Zhao Linger plucked an orange from a branch and tossed it into the basket on his back. His expression was troubled. Lost in thought, he closed his eyes, a frown creasing his brow. He sighed. Mother would never have imagined me picking oranges here, he murmured to himself. As he drifted in thought, he glanced over his shoulder and caught sight of Sikong Chongshan not far behind him. Suddenly, someone called out to Zhao Linger. He quickly started walking towards them, feigning busyness. "I've finished over here," he called out. "I'll go check the next section." But before he could get far, a hand shot out and grabbed his basket. "Stop!" Sikong Chongshan called urgently. Sikong Chongshan's expression was a mixture of frustration and confusion. "What are you doing?" he asked Zhao Linger. "Why are you avoiding me?" Zhao Linger refused to turn around. Sikong Chongshan gazed at his back, hurt evident in his eyes. "Is it because—" He lowered his gaze, his voice tinged with sadness. "As someone you could once use, I'm no longer of any value to you? So even maintaining a pretense of friendship feels like too much effort." Zhao Linger turned his head slightly, his voice cold and indifferent. "I told you," he said, "I don't have friends." Sikong Chongshan, clinging to a sliver of hope, pressed him. "Do you really dislike me that much?" Zhao Linger continued walking, his back radiating an aura of detachment. "Yes," he replied curtly. "Very much." Sikong Chongshan froze, stung by his words. He started to follow, unsure how to bridge the widening gap between them. He watched as Zhao Linger continued to walk away. Sikong Chongshan closed his eyes, a wave of sadness washing over him. He brought a hand to his forehead, his face pale. His expression was troubled. Zhao Linger, cutting another orange from the tree, paused, his mind elsewhere. He wondered what kind of expression that group was making now. Suddenly, the red-haired student threw his hands up in the air, groaning dramatically. "I'm exhausted," he wailed, "and starving." His companion offered him an orange. "Here," he said, "have an orange." The red-haired student swatted the orange away, his face dark. "I want real food." A nearby villager, holding a woven basket, smiled kindly at them. "Children," she said warmly, "we've prepared some food for you. Have a little something so you don't get too hungry." She opened the basket, revealing a tempting array of delicate, fragrant pastries. The students' eyes lit up, their faces transforming as they gazed at the box of pastries. The woman looked at them sympathetically. "All that work must be tiring," she said. The red-haired student shook his head vehemently. "Not at all," he declared. His companion gave him a withering look. Zhao Linger, watching the students from a distance, remained apart from the cheerful banter. He didn't join them for the pastries. Suddenly, a hand appeared beside him. On a clean handkerchief lay a selection of the delicious-looking treats. The older woman smiled kindly, offering the treats with genuine concern and watching Zhao Linger attentively. He accepted the pastries, murmuring a quick "thank you" before taking a delighted bite. The woman stood beside him, her gaze filled with warmth. She gently reached out, stroking Zhao Linger's hair. "It's me who should be thanking you," she said softly. "Eat slowly, don't choke." Suddenly, she withdrew her hand, rubbing her eyes with a pained expression. She sighed. Zhao Linger, noticing this, asked, "What's wrong with your eyes?" Wiping away a stray tear, she replied, "An old problem. My eyes are failing me in my old age. They water constantly. The village is remote. Seeing a doctor isn't easy." Zhao Linger stared at her, listening as she added wistfully, "Perhaps it's the age when memories bring tears." The other students huddled under the pavilion, watching the downpour outside. They grumbled about the sudden rain. "At least we've almost finished harvesting," one remarked. Sikong Chongshan, however, sat apart, his chin resting dejectedly on his hand. He remained silent. The curly-haired girl, noticing his low spirits, asked, "What's wrong?" Sikong Chongshan replied, listlessly, "The weather." His face darkened, and he continued to prop his chin on his hand, sinking deeper into his gloomy silence. The curly-haired girl looked at him, utterly perplexed. Master Sun began to take a head count. Looking over the crowd of students, he called out, "Is everyone here?" Luoyu, after looking around, noticed Zhao Linger's absence. She quickly raised her hand. "Master Sun, Zhao Linger seems to be missing." Hearing this, Master Sun immediately questioned the students. "Has anyone seen where he went?" A voice from the crowd shouted, "I saw him heading towards Gushan Mountain." Master Sun's face fell. "Gushan Mountain? Why would he go up the mountain in this downpour?" The red-haired student grumbled, picking at his ear with an annoyed expression. "That weirdo. Good riddance if he doesn't come back. He's just a nuisance." Sikong Chongshan, his face grim, threw an arm around the red-haired student's shoulders and hissed in his ear, "Shut your mouth. Don't speak if you don't know anything." The red-haired student turned back to look at Sikong Chongshan, his face pale, sweat trickling down his cheeks. He shivered. Master Sun, noticing Sikong Chongshan's sudden movement, saw him dash off. "Where are you going?" he shouted anxiously. Sikong Chongshan grabbed a conical hat and pulled it over his head, rushing out into the rain. Without looking back, he yelled, "To find him." Zhao Linger trudged through the pouring rain on Gushan Mountain, muttering to himself, Bu plurum, scouring rush, fong fong. Soaked to the bone, he shivered, his breath misting in the cold air. He carefully examined the herbs in his hand. Just the groundsel left to find, he thought. Tucking the herbs securely inside his shirt, he couldn't help but think, this rain is getting heavier. Suddenly, he spotted it in the distance. The groundsel he had been searching for. The final herb. But it grew precariously close to the edge of a rocky cliff. Zhao Linger cautiously reached out, his hand trembling as he stretched for the plant. Just as his fingers brushed against it, his foot slipped. He began to tumble down the steep slope. The situation was dire. Just then, Sikong Chongshan arrived. He lunged forward, catching Zhao Linger around the waist. He prevented him from falling further. Zhao Linger regained his footing, looking back in a panic to see his rescuer. It was Sikong Chongshan. He quickly stepped back, putting distance between them. "What are you doing here?" Sikong Chongshan, his voice laced with irritation, retorted, "That's my question. What are you doing on Gushan Mountain?" Zhao Linger turned away, glancing back at him surreptitiously. "I'm gathering herbs for the old woman in the village," he mumbled. "Leave me alone. I'll be finished soon." Sikong Chongshan grabbed his hand, his tone unusually sharp. "Enough. Come back with me." Zhao Linger reacted defensively, his voice rising in frustration. "Why is it always you? Haven't I made myself clear?" He frowned, pushing Sikong Chongshan away. "Just worry about yourself. You don't understand me. Do you even know what I'm trying to do?" He angrily pulled his hand free, resisting Sikong Chongshan's attempts to get close. "You're an outsider. Stay out of my business." He stumbled, his shoes slipping on the wet rocks. He was about to fall again. Sikong Chongshan's face paled. He cried out anxiously, trying to stop Zhao Linger from moving back any further, but it was too late. Zhao Linger stumbled backward and fell. He was about to plummet down the steep slope. Sikong Chongshan desperately reached out, beads of cold sweat dripping from his brow. "Are you an idiot?" he yelled, his face contorted in fear. Zhao Linger felt the sickening lurch of his stomach as he fell, the world a blur around him. He didn't even scream. He just stared eyes wide. "Even if I die," he thought numbly, "no one will truly care. Ever since that fire, everything has changed." Zhao Linger landed hard on the grassy slope. So tired, he thought listlessly, "I just want to disappear." A memory surfaced. Children were kicking and punching a small white dog, their cruel voices chanting, "Kill it, kill it." The dog whimpered, trying to protect the puppy in its embrace. 11-year-old Zhao Linger, his back burdened with a basket of herbs, had stumbled upon the scene. "Stop it!" he'd shouted, his young voice filled with an unexpected authority. The children, undeterred, just laughed and taunted him, challenging him to interfere. Another busybody. Let's get him too. With surprising speed and strength, Zhao Linger had quickly subdued his tormentors, leaving them bruised and whimpering. He casually dusted off his hands and turned to the white dog. "Are you all right?" he asked gently. The dog looked at him with adoration. "You're amazing," it barked. "You took care of them so fast." The boy, who introduced himself as a bai, then asked curiously, "What's your name?" "Let's be friends." Zhao Linger stammered, suddenly shy, his cheeks flushing. I'm Lin Qian." He finally managed his eyes wide. He looked at the small yellow puppy nestled in Abai's arms. "Is that your dog?" he asked excitedly. Abai shook his head. "No," he explained. "Those boys were bullying him, so I tried to stop them. He's been following me ever since." Zhao Linger leaned closer, his eyes shining as he looked at the puppy. Abai, meanwhile, hadn't taken his eyes off Zhao Linger. As they walked, Abai exclaimed, "You're nothing like those other boys." Zhao Linger, startled by the sudden closeness, turned to him. Abai's gaze fell on the basket on Zhao Linger's back. "What's that you're carrying?" he asked. "These are herbs," Zhao Linger replied. "I just picked them on the mountain." Abai, still cradling the puppy, listened intently. "You gather herbs on the mountain?" he asked, impressed. "Do you know how to heal people?" "That's incredible." Zhao Linger gripped the straps of his basket, shrugging slightly. "My mother does," he said. "I'm just learning. I'm not a master yet." Abai's eyes widened. "That's amazing," he exclaimed. "I'm so envious." He looked at Zhao Linger earnestly. "You have to teach me sometime, and how to fight like that, too." Zhao Linger readily agreed. Later, his mother's face was thunderous. "Why were you fighting?" she demanded. "Didn't I tell you not to cause trouble?" "But they started it." Zhao Linger protested, dropping to his knees. "They were the ones who attacked me." His mother was unmoved. "I was just helping a girl," he cried. "She's my friend." Why can't I help her? His mother saw it as meddling. They argued back and forth. I wasn't meddling, Zhao Linger insisted. What's wrong with helping someone? His mother, exasperated, sent him outside to stand in the courtyard and think about his actions. He wasn't allowed any dinner. He hadn't been standing there long when his stomach began to rumble loudly. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out to him. He looked up and saw Abai perched on the wall surrounding his courtyard. Did your mother scold you? Abai asked sympathetically. Zhao Linger nodded miserably. Abai held out 2 steam buns. Are you new here? Abai asked, his arms crossed. I haven't seen you around before. Zhao Linger, munching on a bun, nodded again. Abai's eyes widened. Do you live here with your mother? What about your father? Zhao Linger looked down at the bun in his hand. Gone, he murmured. Abai's gone. Hearing these words, Abai's eyes went blank, as if trying to recall something. Then, Zhao Linger's head suddenly turned towards him, asking solicitously, have those little punks been bullying you all this time? At these words, Abai awkwardly rubbed his head. Because I look weak, they often bully me. Then Abai smiled. It's just bad luck that I ran into them. And then they bullied me. Zhao Linger looked at him with concern, his eyes filled with compassion, a protectiveness that was hard to control. He took out a jade pendant and handed it to Abai. Here, take this. Let it protect you from now on. Abai's eyes lit up as he looked at the jade pendant, curiously asking, what is this? Zhao Linger earnestly explained, my father made it. He said it would keep you safe. So, I'll give it to you. I hope you'll be safe and sound. Abai's jaw dropped in astonishment. Your father made it? Something this important? I can't accept this. You should keep it. Zhao Linger smiled, his eyes crinkling into crescents with happiness. Holding a steamed bun, he said casually, just consider it a thank you gift for tonight's dinner. Hearing these words, Abai's eyes widened. I'll treasure it. Thank you, Xiao Qian. Zhao Linger and Abai sat on the wall, looking at the night sky together. Abai turned his head and asked, Xiao Dai, you'll stay here forever, right? The wind ruffled Abai's hair, and even his platinum jade pendant swayed. I always feel like you'll suddenly leave one day. Abai hugged his small yellow dog, looking downcast at Zhao Linger. Zhao Linger laughed cheerfully. Even if I move, I'll say goodbye to you. He slung his basket on his back, preparing to go gather herbs on the mountain. Seeing the basket, Abai ran over and asked, Are you going to gather herbs again today? Hearing Abai's question, Zhao Linger turned around. They looked up at the overcast sky. It's probably going to rain soon. Zhao Linger didn't seem concerned. I'll be right back. But Abai remained worried. Be careful. This kind of weather is the worst. It just makes you feel gloomy. Hearing this, Zhao Linger wanted to explain something. Actually, I wanted to tell you something, but the words caught in his throat. Suddenly, Abai's mother called out, Abai, come and give me a hand. Abai turned and replied, All right, mother. Just as Abai was about to turn away, he remembered that Zhao Linger still had something to say. Xiao Qian, what were you going to say? Zhao Linger waved his hand. Go ahead. After walking a short distance, Abai looked back. Tell me when you get back. I'm going now. Zhao Linger hooked the straps of his basket with his fingers, his eyes shining as he watched Abai go. Then Zhao Linger turned and walked toward the door while Abai headed inside. They parted ways. The sky was overcast and the rain began to patter on the ground. Zhao Linger walked in the rain. Looking at the darkening sky, he couldn't help but sigh. It's only midday. Why is it so dark? Suddenly, a woman on horseback shouted towards him, Linger. Zhao Linger turned and saw her riding towards him. Seeing this, Zhao Linger was surprised. Mother, what are you doing here? His mother, drenched in the rain, looked panicked, her hands gripping the reins tightly. They found us. Come with me, quickly. Zhao Linger's face paled. Is it those men in black? How did they find us? It all happened so fast, he couldn't help but believe it. His mother explained helplessly, Those bloodthirsty fiends are capable of anything. I just didn't expect it to be so soon. We have to travel through the rain. Hearing these words, Zhao Linger's face clouded over with worry. He was caught in a dilemma, unsure how to make a decision. He remembered Abai's gentle, bright smile and the promise he had made. Was he about to break it? Then, Zhao Linger dropped his basket and ran off into the pouring rain, determined to go back and make sure Abai was safe. Zhao Linger's mother watched her daughter's retreating figure. Sitting on her horse, she shouted desperately, Xiao Qian, where are you going? Come back. He ran through the rain, his strength almost spent, but his destination wasn't here. The distance felt vast. Zhao Linger's homeward sprint never faltered. His steps were determined, yet frantic, his mind fixed solely on reaching home quickly. It was unclear whether rain or tears streamed down his face. but his gaze remained resolute. Everything he'd experienced had happened so fast. Now, Zhao Linger bowed his head slightly, tears tracing paths down his cheeks. He worried constantly about his friend, Abai. Soon, Zhao Linger reached his doorstep. He paused, hoping with all his might that Abai was safe. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to face him. Then, Zhao Linger raised a trembling hand and pushed the door open. Under the pressure of his hand, the door slowly creaked open a crack. Inside, Abai turned his head towards the sound, a small yellow dog cradled in his arms. He called out excitedly towards the doorway, "Xiao Qian, you're finally back." As the gap in the doorway widened, Zhao Linger snapped back to reality. He realized that everything had been a figment of his imagination. Devastated, he stared at the scene within. Two cold bodies lay before him. Abai was there, the small yellow dog beside him. The dog wagged its tail, waiting for Abai. Abai's body was covered in blood. His eyes were wide open in death. "It's all my fault," Zhao Linger thought. "I got Abai killed." He had died with his eyes open, his final moments filled with terror. Just then, Zhao Linger crumpled to his knees, staring at the blood staining the floor. Tears streamed down Zhao Linger's face. He was utterly broken. The rain outside continued to fall relentlessly, mirroring the icy coldness that had gripped his heart. Kneeling in the pool of blood, Zhao Linger held Abai's lifeless body, his friend's form mangled and unrecognizable. He felt himself sinking into an endless abyss. He choked out Abai's name, but his voice was swallowed by the silence. There was no response. In the blood, Zhao Linger noticed the jade pendant clutched in Abai's hand. He had given it to him not long ago. Tears flowed uncontrollably down his face, mingling with the rain. No amount of grief could bring Abai back. He remembered Abai's questions from before. Now it was his turn to grieve. Abai was gone, so suddenly. The more Zhao Linger thought, the more intense his sorrow became. He wept openly in the downpour, releasing the desolation that consumed him. The day Abai appeared felt like a miracle, a dream, he thought. "I was so happy, but it didn't feel real. I always felt like you would disappear one day." But that day had come too soon. Zhao Linger hadn't been prepared. The news he received was the death of his best friend. What Zhao Linger had wanted to say that day was, "Even though I don't know when we'll say goodbye, you, Abai, are a miracle to me." His mother's voice echoed in his memory, urging him, "Don't get attached to others. It will only lead to unnecessary pain. Letting go is the best way to protect them." In Abai's eyes, "Xiao Qian, you are so kind. You will surely find other friends." But those words had only amplified his loneliness. In the end, he was always alone. Zhao Linger sank deeper into the abyss of his memories. It had all been a flashback. As his thoughts returned to the present, he tumbled off the cliff. Without hesitation, Sikong Chongshan jumped after him, his eyes filled with worry and concern, driven by the sole purpose of saving Zhao Linger. Zhao Linger was no longer unconscious, but the agonizing memories flooded back as he drifted in and out of awareness. When he finally awoke, he found himself on Sikong Chongshan's back. He heard Sikong Chongshan's voice. Sikong Chongshan calmly said, "Awake, are you?" Carried on Sikong Chongshan's back, Zhao Linger felt his cheeks flush crimson. He stared at him in surprise. "Why did you save me?" Sikong Chongshan replied, his words betraying his true feelings. "It wasn't a high fall. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bothered saving your hide. I even picked your herbs for you." As soon as he finished speaking, Zhao Linger's expression darkened. "You didn't have to do that for me. It wasn't worth it." "You're not a cold person," Zhao Linger continued. "Yet you insist on acting like you are miles away from everyone." Sikong Chongshan's words, despite their gruffness, revealed his concern. But unexpectedly, Zhao Linger spoke up softly from behind. "Those with me might face some danger." These words surprised Sikong Chongshan. He jokingly said to Zhao Linger in exasperation, "You still have the time to worry about others?" This left Zhao Linger speechless, prompting Sikong Chongshan to continue. "Look, it's always you, thinking you have some skills, who ends up in danger. I know you must have some reason you don't want to talk about." With that, Sikong Chongshan, carrying Zhao Linger on his back, strode forward. For a long time, neither of them broke the silence. Suddenly, Zhao Linger heard him say reassuringly, "Don't worry, I value my life greatly." Tears welled up in Zhao Linger's eyes, making him look utterly vulnerable. "If there's danger, I'll be the first to run, so you don't have to worry about me at all." Sikong Chongshan said this calmly, then slightly lowered his head. In Sikong Chongshan's eyes, Zhao Linger was someone who always attracted trouble, and seemed to annoy people. He was always cold to others. But Sikong Chongshan knew that Zhao Linger was a gentle person. I don't know what you've been through that made you this way, but I like you. Zhonwan likes you too. Everyone will slowly get to know the real you. For now, I just hope you don't give up on yourself. These words warmed Zhao Linger's heart. No one had ever cared about him like this. He had no close family or friends. Even if you're afraid of what the future holds, at least now, someone believes in you. Someone will be with you. You're not alone. At least, I'll be by your side. After Sikong Chongshan finished speaking, Zhao Linger buried his face in his shoulder and wept. Zhonwan, with her hair neatly tied back in a ponytail, stood anxiously waiting. She was relieved to see Xiao Qian, Zhao Linger, and the others return safely. Xiao Qian and Chongshan walked in, looking disheveled. Hearing this, Xiao Qian shook his head awkwardly. Chongshan, however, muttered under his breath, "At least we're alive." Zhonwan rushed over anxiously, her small hands clenched inside her wide sleeves. "I was so worried. I'm glad you're both all right." She opened her mouth to say something more, but the elderly woman behind her spoke softly. "We thought something had happened to you." Zhao Linger, unaccustomed to such concern, was momentarily stunned, forgetting what he was about to do. He suddenly held up the plants in his hands, ignoring his soaked clothes, and quickly walked towards the elderly woman. "Grandma, this is for you." The kind-faced woman looked surprised, her aged eyes lowering slightly. Though puzzled by the plants, she reached out and took them. Zhao Linger, ever perceptive, quickly noticed the grandmother's confused expression. Thoughtfully, he explained, "This is medicine for your eyes. You just need to remember how to use it. Boil it in a small pot with water every morning, and drink it warm morning and night. If you can't remember, you can ask me again." Ignoring his dripping hair, his gentle eyes brightened. "That's for internal use. There's also an external method. Grandma, you can choose either one. You can also wash your eyes with the herbal decoction." The elderly woman suddenly lifted her weathered arm and gently stroked his head. Then, with a kind smile, she apologized to Xiao Qian. "Our Xiao Qian is such a good boy. Grandma will remember what you said." As she finished speaking, tears welled up in the corners of her eyes. The elderly woman's face was always adorned with a benevolent smile. Her eyes were full of warmth and kindness. "Such a good-hearted child. You must take good care of yourself, too." After so many years, Xiao Qian once again felt the warmth of family. He nodded vigorously at the grandmother, a blush rising on his pale cheeks. Meanwhile, Zhonwan, the young beauty, finally experienced the long-awaited joy of victory, washing over her like a tide. Tears of excitement welled up in her eyes, sparkling on her cheeks like stars in the night sky. Xiao Qian really is a good person. He's so incredibly cool in my eyes. Elsewhere, the man who had previously confronted him forcefully pulled him aside. Uncontrolled emotions erupted. "So you're a good person after all." Just then, Zhonwan spoke up, pointing at Sikong Chongshan behind them. "Xiao Qian, you wouldn't believe it, but when it was raining so heavily, Chongshan ran out like a rabbit." She immediately launched into a detailed account. "Luo, you wanted to rush out too, but Mr. and the others stopped him. Luo, you suddenly reached out and grabbed him, his face anxious, trying to stop him. However, he knew his limits and only grabbed his hair." Sikong Chongshan walked over, arms crossed, looking extremely cool. "Luo Yu, why is your face so red? And why were you running outside?" Zhao Linger, caught between the two, his small face flushed and uncertain, was surrounded by a cacophony of noise. After a moment, as if infected by the boisterous atmosphere, a brilliant smile bloomed across his features. Mr. Sun suddenly appeared before them, his voice grave and serious. "You think you can just come back like nothing happened? Sneaking off to the mountains is against school rules." He adopted an inscrutable expression, a wicked smile playing on his lips. Unbeknownst to the students, several figures lurked behind him, armed with buckets of water, poised to strike at his command. At Mr. Sun's signal, the students erupted, flinging water from their buckets with wild abandon. Sikong Chongshan was instantly drenched. Zhonwan, her curly hair partially shielding her from the deluge, dashed out from the crowd, calling back as she fled. "Xiao Qian, run." The injured man couldn't escape the onslaught. Several more buckets of water were hurled at him, seemingly oblivious to his weakened state. A genuine, heartfelt smile spread across Zhao Linger's face. I'm so lucky to have met these people, he thought. Every time I remember this day, even when I'm far away, I won't feel lonely. The next morning arrived all too quickly, bringing with it the dreaded early class. Sikong Chongshan slumped over his books, stifled a yawn, fighting the overwhelming urge to fall asleep. His efforts were futile. This morning class is way too early, he grumbled under his breath. Who could possibly enjoy such a boring lesson? A small bubble of exhaustion popped on the tip of Zhou Wan's nose. She offered a strained smile. I know the feeling. I'd much rather be back in bed. Suddenly, Sikong Chongshan, in a moment of impulsive defiance, forced his sleepy eyes open and bolted, intending to return to the comforting embrace of his bed. Just as he was stealthily making his escape, a strong hand shot out, seizing him by the arm. Mr. Sun, his little braid bristling with anger, his hand revealing bulging veins, roared, "You little rascal! Are you trying to skip class again?" Ignoring any resistance, he dragged Sikong Chongshan towards the office, where a painful punishment awaited him. Two students walked up behind Zhao Linger, whispering amongst themselves. Have you heard? There's supposed to be a huge secret hidden in this academy. The teachers were talking about it. They say there's a secret hidden in the headmaster's office. That's probably why the headmaster hasn't returned, but there are guards watching his office day and night. Zhao Linger, unintentionally overhearing their conversation, was immediately intrigued. Could this have something to do with my father? He wondered. Just as he began to ponder the implications, Zhonwan interrupted his thoughts. Xiao Qian, what are you thinking about? We're going to be late for class. He followed his friend, his expression impassive, but his eyes involuntarily glancing back. It looks like I'll have to investigate tonight, he decided. As darkness fell, Zhao Linger donned a black mask. There are two guards patrolling the front of the headmaster's office, he observed. I'll have to go through the second-floor window at the back. With agile movements, he reached the roof, his night clothes blending seamlessly with the shadows. He proceeded with silent steps, moving stealthily towards his target. With a swift motion, he drew a sharp dagger. A thud echoed as he sliced through the closed window. Zhao Linger quickly slipped inside, gently closing the window behind him. The entire operation was executed with impressive skill and precision. He moved silently, searching meticulously for anything out of the ordinary. However, the room seemed to contain only ordinary books. There was no sign of the secret they had spoken of. Frustrated, he pulled a box of books from the shelf, his delicate fingers brushing away the dust. I thought there would be some kind of clue, he mused. Suddenly, he heard a faint rustling sound. A flicker of surprise crossed his masked face. He hadn't expected anyone else to be there. The footsteps grew closer. He quickly hid behind a tall bookshelf. Driven by curiosity, he cautiously peeked out, hoping to catch a glimpse of the newcomer. To his astonishment, he saw Luo Yu, seemingly searching for a hidden mechanism. Now's not the time to follow him, Zhao Linger thought. Someone will notice the headmaster's office has been entered sooner or later. I should go back. It seems I won't find the secret here. As he quietly retreated, the two guards patrolling outside heard the noise. Seeing the open window, they began to curse under their breath. Zhao Linger, already back on the roof and making his way to his room to change his clothes, was blissfully unaware of the commotion he had caused. As he reached his door, questions swirled in his mind. Why would Luo Yu go to the headmaster's office? Was he also looking for the secret? The situation seemed increasingly mysterious. The second floor of the headmaster's office was filled with ordinary bookshelves. I searched thoroughly, and there was nothing there. Could there be a hidden room? Lost in thought, he was startled as a hand clamped over his mouth. His heart pounded in his chest, his pupils constricting. He was quickly wrestled to the ground, his back hitting the table with a painful thud. The man's grip tightened, pinning his arms firmly behind him. The person who grabbed his wrist was, surprisingly, Sikong Chongshan, his classmate. Upon seeing Zhao Linger, Xiao Qian, a flicker of something akin to annoyance crossed his handsome features. They held this position, locked in a silent, strangely intimate standoff. Chongshan expressed his utter bewilderment at finding Zhao Linger here. Zhao Linger's mouth dropped open in mortified surprise. His struggles ceased abruptly. Sikong Chongshan, holding him, What was going on? He scrambled to his feet, his face burning crimson, and demanded, "What are you doing here?" Chongshan responded with a hint of amusement. "This is my room." Zhao Linger felt the ground open up beneath him. He could practically feel a magnificent mansion being carved out by his nervously twitching toes. He must have mistaken the room in the dark. He turned stiffly, his movements jerky and awkward, and stumbled towards the door. I'll just be going then," he mumbled apologetically. Sikong Chongshan wasn't about to let him escape so easily. He leaned down, blocking the doorway. "You think you can just wander into my room in the middle of the night and leave without an explanation? My dear Xiao Qian, where were you going dressed like that?" Zhao Linger had no choice but to explain the situation, detailing his search for clues regarding the headmaster. Chongshan listened with his arms crossed, a thoughtful expression on his face. At the mention of the headmaster, he paused, rubbing his ear, which had suddenly become quite warm. He nodded slowly, but avoided Zhao Linger's gaze. "Maybe there are clues about my enemies there," Zhao Linger added. "I didn't find any clues," Zhao Linger continued, "but I did discover something else. Luo Yu is also sneaking around the headmaster's office." Sikong Chongshan's voice sharpened with surprise. "You saw Luo Yu? What was he doing there?" Zhao Linger stood frozen as Chongshan reached out and cupped his face, gently kneading his cheeks. "I just saw him, that's all," Zhao Linger stammered. "Is it a big deal?" Chongshan's grip tightened slightly. "Did he do anything to you?" Zhao Linger pulled away, his face flushed from the unexpected contact. "What could he possibly do to me? He didn't even know I was there." His gaze became fixed on something unseen, as if drawn in by an invisible force. His breath hitched, and his heart pounded in his chest. Uncomfortable under Chongshan's intense stare, Zhao Linger edged past him, once again attempting an awkward escape. Just as he stepped out of the room, Chongshan's hand shot out, pulling him back. "Wait," Chongshan said, his voice low. "There's something else." Zhao Linger, already stiff with nerves, swayed precariously from the force of the pull. He raised a hand to his forehead, shielding his burning face. "Can't you just say it all at once?" he muttered. Chongshan seemed captivated, his gaze fixed on Zhao Linger. He reached out and took Zhao Linger's hand, his warm palm enveloping his fingers, a silent transfer of energy passing between them. His eyes, dark and deep as the night sky, held a hidden tenderness. He leaned closer, his gaze unwavering. The air crackled between them, their breaths mingling. As Chongshan drew nearer, his cool breath ghosting over Zhao Linger's skin, Zhao Linger squeezed his eyes shut, his heart hammering against his ribs. Chongshan's eyes, half-lidded, watched him intently. The distance between them closed. Then, abruptly, Chongshan pulled back and flicked Zhao Linger sharply on the forehead. Zhao Linger yelped in surprise. Rubbing his reddening forehead, Zhao Linger glared at Chongshan. "What was that for?" Chongshan, suddenly flustered, rubbed the back of his neck. "Just reminding you to be careful of Luo Yu." Zhao Linger frowned, completely baffled by the cryptic warning. Confusion clouded his eyes. Chongshan, seemingly eager to end the conversation, began ushering him towards the door. "All right, off you go then." With that, Chongshan shut the door firmly, leaving Zhao Linger standing alone in the hallway, bewildered. The realization hit Zhao Linger belatedly. His heart was still racing, his face flushed. Was he about to kiss me? Inside his room, Sikong Chongshan stood with his ears burning, running a hand through his hair in frustration. "Damn it," he muttered. The next morning, a crowd of students huddled around a notice board, chattering excitedly. "What are you all looking at?" someone asked curiously. "What's this intense competition?" The board detailed the headmaster's hidden manual, tucked away somewhere within the academy. Whoever found it, it proclaimed, could claim it as their own. The students buzzed with the news. "A secret manual?" one exclaimed. "I heard it's a secret of the academy. Is it a treasure map? Let's go find it." Zhao Linger suddenly turned, glancing at the person beside him. He was here too. Luo Yu would surely be searching as well. He was looking intently at the words on the notice board, completely unaware that Zhao Linger had noticed him. Zhao Linger squeezed out of the crowd, puzzled. Yesterday, it was a closely guarded secret, he thought. Today, the headmaster announces it to the entire academy. What's going on? What was the academy's game? As he walked, he spotted a familiar figure. "Chongshan," Zhao Linger called out urgently. Sikong Chongshan turned around just as Zhao Linger blurted out, "Did you see the notice? Are you going to look for it?" He suddenly felt self-conscious, glance, tucking a stray strand of hair behind his ear, avoiding Sikong Chongshan's gaze. "Why am I so nervous?" he thought awkwardly. Sikong Chongshan, also looking away, replied, "I might try looking. I imagine a lot of students will be." "Out of curiosity," he added, casually reminding Zhao Linger, "ever since you two were there last night, the headmaster has made it public that everyone can search for the manual." Zhao Linger's mind was elsewhere. He stared blankly at Sikong Chongshan, lost in thought. Sikong Chongshan continued his analysis. What could the Academy's motive be? Suddenly, Zhao Linger reached out, as if to brush a leaf from Sikong Chongshan's hair. But before he could touch him, Sikong Chongshan flinched, jerking his head back. Both of them froze. The air thickened with awkwardness. Zhao Linger's hand hung in the air. "There was a leaf on your hair," he stammered. Sikong Chongshan looked down, avoiding his gaze, and self-consciously brushed at his hair. Zhao Linger stared, puzzled. Why is he acting so strange today, he wondered. Sikong Chongshan touched the back of his neck, turning to leave. "Well, if there's nothing else, I'll be going. See you." He gave a small wave and walked away. Zhao Linger stood there, stunned by the abrupt interaction. Zhao Linger clenched his fists, frowning at Sikong Chongshan's retreating back. What was that all about? Why did he flinch? His expression darkened. "Does he dislike me?" he thought incredulously. A wave of irritation washed over him. Zhao Linger strode after him, teeth gritted. "That jerk," he muttered angrily. Meanwhile, Sikong Chongshan had found a quiet corridor and sat down, lost in thought. He hung his head, replaying the recent encounter in his mind. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration. "What am I doing?" he groaned. Leaning against a pillar, Sikong Chongshan sighed repeatedly. "Why'd I dodge like that? I look like an idiot." He crossed his legs, a confused look on his face. How could I possibly like him? That guy, who looks just like a boy. The image of Zhao Linger flashed through his mind, and he immediately backtracked. Well, he does look good in girls' clothes, and cute in boys' clothes too. He recalled the events of the previous night, his brow furrowing. I actually wanted to kiss him. Sikong Chongshan raked his hands through his hair again, trying to clear his head. Unpredictable, always causing trouble, sometimes a boy, sometimes a girl. He turned his head away. There's no way I like him. It must be a mistake. I'm just interested in his secret, that's all. Sikong Chongshan walked through the corridor, arms crossed. The other students were excitedly searching for the Academy's secret, but he was in no mood to join them. Zhao Linger happened to be searching nearby, scanning his surroundings. I've already looked everywhere around here. He glanced over his shoulder, and their eyes met. Sikong Chongshan froze. Zhao Linger reacted instantly, raising an eyebrow and glaring at him. Sikong Chongshan, startled, glared back defiantly. What's with that look? He challenged. Suddenly, Zhonwan appeared behind them, waving and calling out to Zhao Linger from the corridor. Come over here for a sec. Sikong Chongshan tried to say something to him, but Zhao Linger ignored him completely, heading straight for Zhonwan. Annoyed at being ignored, Chongshan called out after Zhao Linger, "Hey, see if it's up there." But his words were lost to the wind. Sikong Chongshan, scowling, felt his temples throb. He rubbed his forehead in exasperation. With agile grace, Zhao Linger leaped onto a roof beam and began a meticulous search. Then, with a puzzled shout, he called down, "There's nothing up here." Hearing this, Zhonwan looked up and yelled, "Then come down. We'll look somewhere else." Zhao Linger jumped down from the beam, landing lightly on the ground. Suddenly, a red-haired young man approached, slinging an arm around Zhao Linger's neck. "Brother," he said amiably, "your moves are amazing. Teach me sometime." Watching from a distance, Sikong Chongshan frowned, his expression darkening. Zhao Linger thought, embarrassed. Finally, this guy isn't picking on me. Better be friendly. Mimicking the red-haired youth's tone, he replied, Sure, sure. Just then, Sikong Chongshan appeared behind him, grabbed Zhao Linger's braid, and yanked him away. "Get over here." Sikong Chongshan fumed. "So you finally figured out how to use your fancy acrobatics to make friends, huh?" "Real smooth." Zhao Linger, thoroughly bewildered by Chongshan's behavior, retorted, "Are you crazy?" Sikong Chongshan, beside himself with rage, snapped, "You have time to teach others that stuff?" Unable to contain his anger, he continued his tirade. "And I suppose you've forgotten what you're supposed to be doing? You really think you're a man now?" Zhao Linger's face darkened, thoroughly provoked. He felt a surge of inexplicable irritation. He roared at Sikong Chongshan, I know what I'm doing, and what I do is none of your business. His face flushed with anger. He turned to leave. Before storming off, he yelled back, "Idiot!" Sikong Chongshan didn't follow. He ran a hand through his hair in frustration and shouted in anger. Finally, unable to control his fury, he kicked a nearby tree trunk. "Damn it," he raged. Meanwhile, a figure flew through the air. Another person, Luo Yu, calmly raised an arm and caught him. His face expressionless, Luo Yu carefully unfurled a rolled-up message and scrutinized its contents. He then held the message to a lit candle, intending to destroy it. The message read, "Find the clues quickly. Eliminate all obstacles." At that moment, in the back hills of the academy, Zhao Linger was perched on a thick tree branch, frowning as he examined a leaf in his hand. "Not in the trees either," he muttered, growing impatient. He gritted his teeth, thinking, how long is this going to take? Pushing off with his feet, he used the tree trunk to launch himself towards the ground. He landed, startled, directly in front of Luo Yu. Both of them looked surprised. Zhao Linger cried out and stumbled backward, losing his footing. Seeing him about to fall, Luo Yu quickly reached out and caught him around the waist. "Careful," he said. Once Zhao Linger regained his balance, they quickly separated. He thanked Luo Yu and asked curiously, "Are you looking for the manual too?" Luo Yu, maintaining his usual placid facade, smiled and replied, "Seeing everyone else looking, I thought I'd join in the fun." Zhao Linger frowned slightly, unconvinced. Just joining in the fun? Then why sneak into the headmaster's office in the dead of night? The memory of Sikong Chongshan's earlier warning surfaced. Be careful of Luo Yu. Zhao Linger suddenly smacked his forehead, trying to banish the thought of that annoying fellow. Luo Yu, startled by the gesture, asked tentatively, "Are you all right?" Zhao Linger waved dismissively. "Don't mind me." Suddenly, a small black and white spotted dog bounded out of the bushes, barking excitedly. Zhao Linger scooped up the wagging dog with a joyful cry. "Tang Yuan, what are you doing here?" Luo Yu tilted his head quizzically. "Do you keep him as a pet?" he asked. He easily reached out, stroking the fluffy head of the small puppy. Zhao Linger, his expression filled with delight, replied, "He's not mine. I think he's a stray." "Tang Yuan," he added, as the puppy nuzzled his cheek affectionately. Zhao Linger laughed. "Give him something to eat, and he'll become very friendly." Luo Yu stared at him, a blush creeping up his cheeks. Inwardly, he thought, he's so easily pleased. The Fuyue buzzed with activity, the clamor of conversation from various scholars and guests filling the air. 3 men sat around a table. One of them spoke. Brother Lu, the one who didn't get into the academy this time, was Luo Yu. The man gritted his teeth. "I'll make him pay for this." He slammed his wine jug down on the table in frustration, recalling the events of that day. "He said he would cooperate with me, but he got himself admitted." He fumed, ranting incessantly. "That effeminate. They're all in cahoots." His companion patted his shoulder consolingly. "Well, he is the Prime Minister's son, after all." The man gripped his teacup, seething. "So what if he's the Prime Minister's son? Why did that brat get in while I got scolded by my father?" The man with a scar across his mouth suddenly let out a chilling chuckle, a sinister grin spreading across his face. He spoke with disdain. "Luo Yu, is it?" The scar man sneered, a dark amusement in his voice. "Brother Lu, don't worry. Let me help you get even." The puppy stuck out a tiny pink tongue, panting in the heat, wagging its tail enthusiastically at them. Its paws were neatly tucked beneath its body as it sat. Zhao Linger, charmed, reached out a fair hand towards it. He scooped up the puppy, the fluffy creature a comforting weight in his arms. His eyes lit up as he looked at Luo Yu. "Do you want to hold him?" Luo Yu immediately offered a polite smile, shaking his head with feigned indifference. "I think I'll pass." Zhao Linger, utterly perplexed, his eyes filled with confusion, asked, "Why are you standing so far away?" Luo Yu, hands clasped behind his back, explained, "It's cooler over here." Zhao Linger stroked the puppy in his arms, feeling the warm puffs of breath against his hand. "He's so soft," he murmured. "He doesn't have a name yet." Luo Yu, maintaining a safe distance, watched him play with the puppy, his expression impassive. "Why are you here?" he asked. "Shouldn't you be looking for the manual?" He blinked in surprise when Zhao Linger confirmed that he was indeed still planning to search for it. "If you're going to look for the manual, why are you so relaxed?" Zhao Linger looked up nonchalantly. "I don't think there's any need to rush," he replied. "The manual, which was originally kept in the headmaster's office, has everyone talking. But the academy set a rule today. Whoever finds it keeps it. If it were truly important, they wouldn't let the students have it so easily. The more he analyzed the situation, the more convinced he became, his expression growing certain. So, it can only mean that the manual doesn't hold any great secrets. Luo Yu, rendered speechless by this logic, sighed, a hint of resignation in his dark hair. Xiao Qian, your analysis makes a lot of sense. I think I'll go attend to my own affairs. Just as he turned to leave, the puppy in Zhao Linger's arms suddenly darted away. The mischievous creature leaped on a Luo Yu's back, its small claws clinging tight, refusing to let go. Zhao Linger cried out in surprise, reaching out in a panic. Puppy, don't run. Why are you so disobedient? He started to reach out to rescue Luo Yu, but paused, noticing the other boys trembling for him. What's wrong? He asked. Luo Yu's body had gone rigid, his usually composed features crumbling. Xiao Qian, please, he begged. Get it off me. Zhao Linger stood frozen, his beautiful eyes wide with shock, seemingly oblivious to the other boys' frantic pleas. However, a shred of rationality remained. He quickly retrieved the mischievous puppy. I've got him, he said. Are you afraid of dogs? Luo Yu, as if all his strength had drained away, collapsed to the ground, ignoring all decorum. Of course I'm not afraid of dogs, he insisted. I was just startled. Now it was Zhao Linger's turn to be exasperated. He looked at Luo Yu with a look of disdain and let out a flat "oh." Then, as if testing a theory, he put the puppy down again. The boy, who had been gasping for breath, immediately sprang to his feet. Zhao Linger struggled to suppress a laugh, his eyes twinkling with amusement as he looked Luo Yu up and down. I didn't know Luo Yu was afraid of dogs, he teased. It doesn't really fit your image. Luo Yu collapsed back onto the ground, his body trembling uncontrollably. Luckily, I dodged in time, he muttered. I almost lost my life. Luo Yu's face flushed crimson as he shouted. Linger, you absolutely cannot tell anyone about this. You have to keep it secret, especially from Sikong Chongshan. Zhao Linger, holding the puppy, burst into laughter, praising Luo Yu's unexpected display of vulnerability. So you have a cute side too, he chuckled. Yet below, a scene of tranquility belied the tension. Two figures cloaked in black emerged from the woods, their hushed voices weaving a plot of assassination. One was Luo Yu, recognizable even in disguise. The other, his rival from the examination. They were clearly in league together, their scheme meticulously planned. This time, one whispered, with our numbers, they won't escape. This poison dart will take care of both of them. Zhao Linger set down the small puppy he held, gently stroking its head. Stay here, he murmured. His gaze snapped upwards, sharp and alert, scanning the figures perched in the trees above. A few monkeys, likely weary from their vigil. Luo Yu, seemingly already aware of their presence, looked up swiftly, a chilling glint in his eyes, partially obscured by the strands of hair falling across his forehead. The concealed figures in the treetops abruptly abandoned all pretense of stealth, drawing their swords and charging downwards. Zhao Linger stood his ground, his pale hand flashing to his waist, drawing his own long sword. With a blur of motion, he met the attack, his sword a whirlwind of flashing steel. The relentless assault proved too much for the attackers to withstand. Zhonwan glanced back, her delicate brows furrowed in frustration. Luo Yu, are you going to just sit there? Do you expect me to fight them all alone? But Luo Yu, ever the embodiment of audacity, ignored his exasperated companion, a smirk playing on his lips as he declined her plea for assistance. Zhao Linger, outnumbered, fought on, his sword a tireless dance of defense. Who are these people, he thought. They don't seem like the ones who forced my mother to her death. Luo Yu, his false smile firmly in place, tilted his head slightly. Zhonwan's fighting style. I've seen it somewhere before. Then, a dramatic turn of events. Zhonwan, in a surprising move, reached out and ripped the mask from one of the attacker's faces. It was the student who had nearly been admitted to the academy. He tugged nervously at the corner of his mouth, a flicker of embarrassment in his sharp eyes. Zhao Linger stared at the man, his eyes wide with confusion, one eyebrow raised. Who are you? The man exploded. You brat, you forgotten me already? I'm the one who teamed up with Luo Yu during the entrance exam. It's your fault I didn't get into the academy. His rage escalated with every word, his body trembling with fury. He lashed out, aiming a kick at Zhao Linger's chest. But Zhao Linger was too quick, spinning away from the blow. However, the other attacker, seizing the opportunity, lunged forward once more. Suddenly, Luo Yu intervened, catching Zhao Linger as he stumbled. He then turned to flee, clearly unwilling to engage in the fight himself. Zhao Linger, slung over Luo Yu's shoulder, struggled to maintain his grip on his sword. Luo Yu, seemingly oblivious, continued his retreat, sending a flurry of attacks back towards their pursuers. His slender fingers tightened, and from his short fan, a shower of needles erupted, silently and swiftly finding their mark. Luo Yu, economical in his movements, had felled a swathe of opponents with a single, elegant gesture. Like a pampered nobleman, he flicked his sleeve, disdaining to touch the fallen. He surveyed the prone figures, nodding with an air of haughty satisfaction. Then, he patted Zhao Linger's backside, signaling the end of their ordeal. Zhao Linger, despite his current male guise, bristled at the familiar gesture. He looked up, his face flushing crimson. He jumped down from Luo Yu's shoulder, one hand gripping his sword, the other lashing out, delivering a resounding slap to Luo Yu's face. Luo Yu stared down in disbelief, rubbing his stinging cheek. Zhao Linger retorted, his voice laced with embarrassment. "You caused this mess. You deal with it." Luo Yu blinked, confusion clouding his cool gaze. "But they're already down. Why did you hit me?" Before Zhao Linger could answer, Luo Yu collapsed. Zhao Linger stared in shock, reaching out instinctively. He caught the unconscious Luo Yu, his fingers clutching his robes. What happened? Why did he faint? The thoughts racing through his mind suddenly dissolved into a hazy blankness as dizziness washed over him, his own strength ebbing away. His grip on Luo Yu's robes loosened, and he slumped to the ground beside him. Then, miraculously, the fallen attackers stirred, rising to their feet. The leader let out a chilling chuckle. A sinister spider emerged from behind Luo Yu's neck, its tiny legs scrambling towards its master. Another, mottled spider appeared more slowly, crawling from behind Zhao Linger's neck, a stark contrast to the first. The lead attacker crouched down, pulling out a small wooden box. So much for their impressive martial arts. They were no match for my poison spiders. And look at them, so delicate, so perfect, the finest specimens from my collection. So he grabbed Luo Yu's small face, appraising him with a disturbingly intense gaze. Though each was undeniably appealing, they were, unfortunately, both male. The man in black cupped Luo Yu's head in one hand, and then, shockingly, extended his tongue, licking his cheek inch by inch, as if trying to satiate some strange hunger. The man who had accompanied the figure in black felt his skin crawl. He hadn't expected the person his companions sought out to be such a deviant. The man who wasn't part of the academy bent down, grabbing the clothes of the two unconscious figures, intending to drag them into the woods for a beating while they were still out cold. The perverse man, with unsettling perceptiveness, noticed something. He quickly raised a hand, blocking the other man's path. If he hadn't been mistaken, this one was a woman. Though dressed in men's clothing, bandages were bound around her chest. He thought the youth was unusually delicate looking. Now he understood why. He snatched the woman from the other man's grasp, a wicked smile twisting his lips. "I'll be taking this one," he declared. "You can handle Luo Yu yourselves." And so, a long while later, a blade of foxtail grass brushed against Luo Yu's face, rousing him from unconsciousness. Sikong Chongshan squatted nearby, a relaxed air about him, twirling a foxtail between his long fingers. "Luo Yu, you blockhead, you're finally awake." The usually aloof young nobleman, now bound with rough rope, disregarded his disheveled appearance and yelled, "Sikong, what are you doing here?" Sikong Chongshan couldn't contain his amusement at finding Luo Yu tied up and looking like he'd lost a fight with a wild boar. "Are you here to mock me?" Luo Yu spat. Sikong poked him again with the foxtail and nodded emphatically. "Precisely. Want me to untie you? Then beg." Luo Yu flushed crimson, a wave of discomfort washing over him. "Sikong Chongshan, you're taking advantage of me. Untie me at once." But faced with Sikong's impassivity, the reality of his predicament sunk in. His voice dropped to a near whisper. "Please untie me." A surge of satisfaction coursed through Sikong Chongshan. He fought to suppress a triumphant grin. The arrogant Luo Yu was actually obeying him. "How about you bark like a dog too?" he taunted. But before Luo Yu could react, a real bark echoed through the air, startling them both. They turned their heads in unison towards the sound. It was the puppy Zhao Linger had found earlier, trotting towards them with a long sword clutched in its jaws. Sikong Chongshan picked up the sword, his amber eyes widening in surprise. "This is Zhao Linger's sword. What's it doing here?" Luo Yu, still tied to the tree, spoke softly, his face bruised and pained. Zhao Linger was here a moment ago. I don't remember what happened after that. Sikong Chongshan roared in frustration. Where is Zhao Linger now? What happened? Why is only Luo Yu, ignoring his injuries, looked at Sikong with a grim expression. I was ambushed by the person I teamed up with during the exam. I passed out after that. Sikong rubbed his aching forehead, his face a mask of exasperation. And what does that have to do with Zhao Linger? They must have been caught up in it because of you. But shouldn't their target have been me? Why would they take Zhao Linger? Could it be that they discovered the secret? The more he thought about it, the more uneasy he became. He gripped Zhao Linger's sword tightly and looked down at the puppy. Can you find this sword's owner? The puppy wagged its tail furiously, its tiny face radiating confidence, barking repeatedly as if to say, of course. The forgotten Luo Yu thrashed his legs against his bonds, but the ropes were too tight to break free. The movement caught Sikong's attention. He strode back to Luo Yu and placed a hand firmly on his head. I suggest you stay put, he growled, his voice thick with anxiety. Listen, Luo Yu, if anything happens to Zhao Linger, you're dead. Cowed by Sikong's intensity, Luo Yu was momentarily too stunned to retort. By the time he recovered, Sikong and the puppy were already gone. Sikong, Luo Yu shouted after him. I humbled myself and begged you to untie me, and you just walked away? His anger surged, shattering his usual aristocratic composure. Sikong Chongshan, you idiot! You have no chance going alone. Meanwhile, the object of his concern, Zhao Linger, lay unconscious in a grassy clearing, a gentle breeze caressing their face, making them appear even more captivating. The lecherous man in black crouched beside Zhao Linger, his narrow eyes filled with undisguised lust. Looks like they're waking up. How very interesting. As if on cue, Zhao Linger's eyes fluttered open. Confusion clouded their features as they took in the unfamiliar face hovering above them. The man chuckled, assuming they had been jolted awake by the fall. After all, anyone stung by my poison spiders usually remains unconscious for at least 2 days. Zhao Linger stared at him, searching for answers. Where am I? Why can't I move? I remember suddenly losing consciousness. I had just helped Luo Yu, who had fainted, and then that wave of drowsiness came over me. The man's voice cut through their thoughts. You're certainly no ordinary woman. The scarred man's pupils contracted sharply, a mixture of shock and disbelief swirling within them. He stared at Zhao Linger with a predatory gleam, his unruly eyebrows suddenly arching. His voice, as always, dripped with malice. Of course, I know who you are. He reached out a hand toward Zhao Linger, his grimy fingers brushing against their collar. Sensing their slight tremble, he chuckled darkly. Zhao Linger, like a rose with thorns, bristled at the man's touch, their defenses instantly rising. Get away from me. Don't touch me. The man seemed unfazed by their outburst, still so spirited, even after being poisoned. I suggest you save your energy. Even if you wake up, your body will be powerless. He trailed a finger across Zhao Linger's lips, the soft texture seeming to electrify him. I thought I could be polite. I didn't expect such resistance, even in the face of death. As Zhao Linger's mouth opened slightly, as if to bite him, he backhanded them across the face. Already strong enough to bite? Even with your impressive martial arts and internal energy, your recovery is remarkable. You must have experimented with many poisons and herbs. He licked his finger again, a chilling smile spreading across his face. I truly underestimated you. You're nothing like that useless young master. A sudden gust of wind swept through the doorway, slamming it open with a loud bang that startled the man from his vile ministrations. Sikong Chongshan had arrived, bursting onto the scene just in time to witness the man's actions. He tightened his grip on his sword, his face grim. I've finally found you. Zhao Linger abruptly sat up, their eyes wide with disbelief as they stared at Sikong Chongshan. They seemed unable to comprehend his presence. Sikong Chongshan's gaze fell upon Zhao Linger, their clothes disheveled and hair in disarray. A surge of rage coursed through him. The scarred man, seemingly oblivious to the newcomer's fury, continued his taunts. I've seen quite a few important people today. Even young Master Sikong has graced us with his presence. He gripped Zhao Linger's chin, the scar on his lip deepening with the movement. I presume this one is also a person of importance. He looked up, his eyes glinting with challenge. I'm rather fond of them myself. If you want them, you'll have to fight me for them. True to his ruthless nature, the scarred man lunged forward, sword flashing. Sikong Chongshan, anticipating the attack, retreated swiftly, narrowly avoiding the blow. From a distance, Zhao Linger's weak voice reached him, warning him about the man-spiders. The scarred man let out a scornful laugh, an aura of dark confidence radiating from him. Spiders? Against him? A knife would be more than enough. His words were punctuated by swift, brutal attacks. A flurry of sword strikes erupted around Sikong Chongshan, leaving him little room to maneuver. A sharp pain shot through his arm as the blade grazed his skin. Doesn't he know any martial arts? Sikong Chongshan stood frozen, his sword held uselessly in his hand, offering no resistance. He didn't even react as a spray of blood erupted from his chest. The scarred man retrieved his sword, his eyes fixed on the fallen Sikong Chongshan. The young master, who had come to rescue Zhao Linger, now lay motionless on the ground. Zhao Linger, who had been struggling to sit up, collapsed back onto the grass, their eyes burning with hatred as they glared at the scarred man. The scarred man approached Zhao Linger, a cruel smile twisting his lips. Why are you crying? I haven't even done anything to you yet. As he took another step forward, a hand suddenly clamped around his ankle, holding him fast. Sikong Chongshan's voice, strained but resolute, cut through the air. Our fight isn't over yet. When did it become your turn to speak to them? If you dare take another step closer, you won't leave this place alive. I, Sikong Chongshan, keep my promises. Zhao Linger lay helpless on the ground, tears streaming down their face. They reached out a trembling hand, desperately trying to crawl forward. The scarred man, losing his patience, kicked Sikong Chongshan in the chest, cursing under his breath. You arrogant brat, even on the brink of death, you still defy me. Preoccupied with the barely conscious Sikong Chongshan, the scarred man left himself vulnerable. Zhao Linger seized the opportunity, grabbing a handful of straw and flinging it at the back of his head. Their voice, weak but filled with defiance, echoed through the clearing. You bastard! Don't you touch him! Infuriated by Zhao Linger's defiance, the scarred man strode towards them. It seems you're impatient, and the one who comes to your rescue is nothing but trash. He glanced at Sikong Chongshan, lying in a pool of blood, and a wave of raw mockery washed over him. Sikong Chongshan's words, however, caused his hand to clench into a fist. To the scarred man's astonishment, Sikong Chongshan struggled to his feet, clutching his bleeding wound. Let them go, he commanded, his voice strained. That's my final warning. The scarred man, still holding Zhao Linger's hair, turned to face him. You're still standing? You're more annoying than a fly. A surge of power coursed through Sikong Chongshan, his eyes, shadowed by his hair, burning with intensity. After a moment of stunned silence, the scarred man shook his head dismissively. Such bravado will be your undoing. Soon, my spider venom will bring you down. Sikong Chongshan gripped the repulsive venomous spider in his hand, his face grim as a few drops of blood trickled down. So easily caught, he muttered, his voice low and menacing. It's you who's going to die. This thing in my hand, it's yours, isn't it? You've got quite a few tricks up your sleeve. The man in black could only stare in disbelief. His spider, crushed in a single grip? Impossible. He drew the long sword from his waist and lunged, a furious snarl twisting his lips. You dare kill my spider, you brat. Zhao Linger watched, eyes wide with worry, but their body was weak, drained of strength. They cursed their own helplessness. Sikong, despite the blood now flowing freely from his hand, caught the man's blade. The man in black's eyes widened in shock. How could this be? But Sikong didn't pause. Ignoring the man's disbelief, he brought his hand down in a swift, brutal chop to the man's neck, silencing him with terrifying ease. Zhao Linger stared, tears welling in their eyes. Was this really happening? How did Chongshan know how to fight like this? Sikong, fueled by rage, delivered a final, powerful blow, sending his opponent crashing to the ground. A heavy silence descended, broken only by the sound of ragged breathing. He walked over to Zhao Linger, gently taking their hand. It's all right, he said softly. They're all gone now. Zhao Linger burst into tears, overwhelmed by relief and a surge of affection for this reckless young man. "You idiot," they sobbed. "Look at you, all covered in wounds." Sikong Chongshan, his face a mask of battle damage, simply shrugged. "I know you have a lot of questions," he said. "I'll tell you everything later. But first, you said you'd agree to one thing, remember?" He leaned down and kissed Zhao Linger's forehead, a torrent of tenderness in the gesture. Then, with a sigh, Sikong Chongshan collapsed into their arms, his fierce aura dissolving. Zhao Linger cried out in alarm, clutching at his robes. They eased him down to the ground, one hand instinctively finding his pulse. After a moment, their face paled. "Poison," they whispered. Struggling to their feet, they swayed, the lingering effects of the spider venom still coursing through their veins. They had to get him out of there. Suddenly, the small puppy appeared, its little head poking cautiously around the trees. Its innocent face held a look of concern. Just as suddenly, Zhao Linger stumbled and fell again, pulling Sikong down with them. Fresh blood seeped from his wounds. Darkness closed in, leaving only the puppy watching over them. Zhonwan arrived, her knuckles rapping gently on the wooden door. Silence. She frowned. Was Zhao Linger not inside? She glanced around, a sense of unease settling over her. Where could they be? The little puppy, now seemingly on a mission, came running towards her, its sharp barks catching her attention. "Where did you come from?" she murmured, reaching down to stroke its head. The soft fur beneath her fingers brought a moment of comfort. The puppy tugged insistently at her sleeve, its tiny tail wagging frantically. Zhonwan looked down, puzzled. "What is it, little one?" she asked. "Are you trying to show me something?" Time seemed to blur. Zhao Linger stirred, their eyes fluttering open at the sound of a familiar voice. Zhonwan, holding the puppy close, beamed with relief. The puppy, in turn, stared intently at Zhao Linger. "Thank goodness you're awake." Zhao Linger sat up, rubbing their forehead, the events of the ambush slowly coming back to them. "You brought me back?" they asked weakly. "What about Chongshan?" Zhonwan nodded, then shook her head. "Mr. Sun and we found you both. I couldn't carry you alone, so I went to get him." But when she mentioned Chongshan, her voice faltered. "He's not doing so well. He has a lot of injuries." Zhao Linger scrambled to their feet, grabbing a robe and throwing it around their shoulders. "Wait," Zhonwan called after them. "You need to rest." Just as Zhao Linger reached for the door, it opened. Mr. Sun stood there, his expression grave. "Chongshan will live," he said. Zhao Linger clutched at their robe, their heart pounding with anxiety. "Mr. Sun," they asked, their voice trembling, "was Chongshan poisoned?" Mr. Sun folded his arms, a flicker of curiosity in his eyes. "He didn't tell you?" he asked. Simply put, his body couldn't handle the extent of his own power. But why that is, well, if he wants you to know, he'll tell you when he wakes up. "That boy risked his life for you," he continued, his voice softening. "He didn't even care about the poison in his own system." Zhao Linger, what exactly is your relationship? Zhao Linger's worry instantly morphed into awkwardness. Their eyes darted around, searching for an escape. Then, with a blush, they blurted out, "Mr. Sun, don't get the wrong idea. We're the best of brothers." Mr. Sun, seeing their flustered state, relaxed slightly. "You should go back and rest," he said. "Take it easy for the next couple of days. And come see me tomorrow." He hurriedly pulled a small medicine bottle from his sleeve, a solemn expression on his face as he offered it. "Teacher, this medicine can alleviate Chongshan's pain." Mr. Sun took the bottle, giving him a reassuring nod. "I'll make sure he gets it." Zhonwan gave him a playful wave. "It's nothing. I'll be going back now. I'll take care of the dog. You just rest." Xiao Qian, as if suddenly remembering something, stopped her. "When you found us, did you see the man in black in the house?" Zhonwan fell in a deep thought, rubbing her chin. A man in black? There wasn't anyone else there. She voiced her own question, bewildered. "What happened anyway? How did you and Chongshan get hurt?" Xiao Qian. Zhao Linger frowned, his clear eyes darkening. "Just someone holding a grudge. I'll handle it." Zhonwan darted in front of him, clapping a hand to his forehead, interrupting his thoughts. She and the dog looked at him with concern. "Don't worry about alone. If you need help with anything, just tell me. It's easier than carrying the burden yourself." Zhao Linger offered a genuine smile, his eyes brightening. "I'll tell you if I have any worries." Since everyone's going back, I'll go back too. I feel like I've forgotten something. Let's talk about everything tomorrow. Meanwhile, Mr. Sun was keeping watch in Sikong Chongshan's room. Hearing a rustling sound, he realized Chongshan had awakened. Sikong Chongshan opened his eyes weakly, the pain causing beads of sweat to form on his forehead. He hadn't expected to see Mr. Sun upon waking. Mr. Sun grumbled loudly. "What kind of talk is that? Are you dissatisfied to see me when you wake up?" As if reading his mind, Mr. Sun spoke calmly. "Xiao Qian is fine. He went back to rest. You should worry about yourself." Without waiting for a reply, he quickly pulled the small medicine bottle from his sleeve. "Here, take this. Xiao Qian gave it to you for the pain." Chongshan's mind was still foggy, but he quickly took the bottle. After all, it was a gift for Xiao Qian. He tucked it into his clothes, placing it close to his heart, as if it were a precious treasure. This action made Mr. Sun's mind race. "You did all this for Xiao Qian, didn't you? To go to such lengths, you're not that way inclined, are you?" Sikong Chongshan frowned, irritated. "Mr. Sun, you're really nosy. What are you even thinking?" Meanwhile, a certain forgotten individual was shivering in the cold wind, who had come to his rescue. The next morning, the academy hall was in an uproar. A young man with reddish hair clutched a book, his chest swelling with pride. He grinned at the crowd. "I searched the academy grounds all night and found it. The headmaster's secret manual is finally mine." He eagerly opened the book, and a throng of people crowded around, eager to see its contents. The book contained only one clear and concise sentence. "The one who seeks this possesses remarkable perseverance, but their stupidity is incurable." Zhao Linger, hearing the commotion from the hall, couldn't contain his laughter. Wasn't the book just calling the red-haired youth an idiot? Mr. Sun looked up in surprise, his raised eyebrows suggesting he sensed something more. "Were you and Luo Yu attacked in retaliation for the exam?" He then lowered his head, carefully examining the book. "If your analysis is correct, then it's quite clear." He looked up again, his expression grave. "Why hasn't Luo Yu returned yet? Where did the fight take place?" The scene shifted to the pathetic Luo Yu. He lifted his mushroom-covered head mournfully, realizing that dawn had broken. Zhao Linger, composing himself, walked hesitantly towards Sikong Chongshan's door, worry gnawing at him. He wondered how Chongshan's injuries were. He hesitated between knocking and not knocking, his reddening ears betraying his thoughts. He took a deep breath, slowly clenching his fists, his mind racing with how to face Chongshan. Before he could knock, the door suddenly opened, leaving him puzzled. The man he'd been longing for peeked out, tilting his head in confusion. "What are you doing here?" Sikong Chongshan chuckled at Zhao Linger's stunned expression. "What are you doing lurking outside my door? Are you here to check on my injuries?" Zhao Linger stammered, searching for an excuse. "I heard from Ainwan that she didn't see the man in black. Did he escape after I woke up? The man in black will be hard to find. He's friends with the student who has a grudge against Luo Yu. Let's investigate that student's identity first." Sikong Chongshan leaned in slightly. "Is that all you came to say? You didn't even ask how my injuries are." The little white wolf, turned its head away sheepishly. "Well, you seem fine now," he muttered, "so I didn't say anything." Chongshan, who had been feigning nonchalance, suddenly leaned heavily against Zhao Linger's shoulder. "Linger," he groaned softly, "help me. I think I'm about to collapse." Linger took the bait instantly, anxiety etched on their face as they whispered in Chongshan's ear. "Is it the wound? Is it infected? We should get back to your room quickly." Chongshan whined softly, feigning helplessness, "But it's so stuffy in there. Is this how you treat your savior?" Linger, their hearts softening despite their outward grumbling, conceded once more and readily hoisted Chongshan onto their back. Chongshan, with a hint of mischief in his voice, suggested, "Carry me to the garden for a walk." Meanwhile, Mr. Sun surveyed the students below, who were chanting in unison, their voices filled with anticipation. It was the Qingxue Grand Ceremony. Holding a ruler in his hand, Mr. Sun addressed the students with a stern expression. "This is the annual Qingxue Grand Ceremony, held between the 4 academies." Sikong Chongshan listened attentively, his chin resting on his hand. "The most important part of the ceremony," Mr. Sun continued, "is the ranking competition between the 4 academies. There will be 2 events, a literary competition and a martial competition." Zhonwan and Luo Yu sat in their seats, listening intently. Mr. Sun delivered his final verdict. "It has been decided that your class will participate in this year's competition." A red-haired student, brimming with arrogance, raised a skeptical eyebrow. Literary and martial competitions? We have Chongshan for the literary and Luo Yu for the martial. What's there to be afraid of? Mr. Sun cautioned him against premature celebration. In previous years, he explained, the martial competition involved archery and sparring, often resulting in serious student injuries. Therefore, this year, the martial competition has been changed to Kuju. A wave of unease rippled through the students. Their eyes widened in shock at the unexpected announcement. Kuju? Before they could fully process the news, Mr. Sun had changed into a different outfit. Holding a Kuju ball, he encouraged the students with a resounding cry. Don't be ashamed. Let's begin practicing. The students exchanged uneasy glances, their faces etched with apprehension. But, sir, they stammered, we don't know how to play. Mr. Sun stared at them, dumbfounded. Then what do you usually do? He exclaimed, his voice laced with disbelief. Study, sir, the students replied in unison, as if stating the obvious. Mr. Sun was momentarily speechless, the corner of his mouth twitching. Well, that's certainly a compelling argument, he managed, clearly struggling to find a suitable response. Mr. Sun raised the Kuja ball, steering the conversation back on track. Anyway, everyone, let's start practicing. Remember, teamwork is key. Luo Yu kicked the ball, and two students immediately intercepted it. Block Luo Yu, they shouted urgently, forming a defensive line. Sensing trouble, Sikong Chongshan dashed past Luo Yu, yelling, pass it over here. Luo Yu, however, simply ignored him with a dismissive snort. Exasperated by Luo Yu's pettiness, Chongshan muttered under his breath, what are you so smug about? Gritting his teeth, Chongshan maneuvered the Kuja ball with his feet, then with a powerful kick, sent it soaring through the air. The two students who had been focused on blocking Luo Yu watched the ball fly past them, their eyes wide with confusion. Where are you kicking it? They shouted in bewilderment. Meanwhile, another student, exhausted from running, bent over to catch his breath. I'm running myself ragged, he thought wearily, completely oblivious to the ball hurtling towards his face. The ball spun rapidly in the air, on a direct collision course with the unsuspecting student. Look out, someone yelled. Suddenly, a foot shot out, intercepting the ball. It was Zhao Linger. Leaping high into the air, Linger executed a swift sideways kick, sending the ball hurtling back towards the goal. It landed squarely in the basket. The surrounding students gasped in astonishment. They scored, they exclaimed excitedly. Linger, however, remained remarkably composed, their gaze fixed thoughtfully on the Kuja ball. They had a feeling they might have overdone it slightly. Witnessing this impressive feat, the other students surged forward, surrounding Linger with a flurry of questions. How did you do that? You jumped so high. That was amazing. Linger, a little flustered, touched their chin nervously, searching for an excuse. I learned a bit from my father, they stammered. Looking at the eager faces around them, Linger nervously twitched the corner of their mouth. Why don't you be our captain? Someone suggested excitedly. Sikong Chongshan stood behind the group of students, watching Linger with a smile. You can definitely do it, the other students chimed in. Be our captain. From the back of the crowd, Chongshan discreetly gave Linger a thumbs up, his smile conveying his encouragement and support. Linger bit their lip, their cheeks flushing as they met Chongshan's gaze. His gesture sent their heart racing, and so they agreed. He stood there, frowning, kicking the ball at his feet restlessly. A wave of anxiety washed over him. How was he supposed to be the captain? It had been ages since he'd last played. Zhao Linger sighed, head bowed, lost in thought. What was this Kuju nonsense anyway? He hadn't even finished his other tasks. It was ridiculous. From his perch in the tree, Sikong Chongshan watched Zhao Linger's troubled movements. He couldn't resist a teasing remark. All those sighs will age you prematurely, you know. Startled, Zhao Linger whipped around. Chongshan, he exclaimed. When did you get there? Sikong Chongshan, lounging comfortably on a branch, looked down with a playful smirk. Before you started kicking that ball around, he replied. I've been here the whole time. He jumped down from the tree and approached Zhao Linger. I found out who was behind that attack on you. Arms crossed, Sikong Chongshan explained the details. Seems they transferred to another prestigious academy. We'll likely face them in the competition. Zhao Linger handed him the Kuju ball, astonishment evident in his voice. How did you find out so quickly? Sikong Chongshan bounced the ball on his knee. I checked the academy's enrollment records from the entrance exams, he said casually. And there they were. Zhao Linger frowned, a worried look in his eyes. Were you poisoned at some point? Sikong Chongshan froze, the ball momentarily forgotten. Zhao Linger quickly added, ever consider it. If you don't want to talk about it, that's fine. Chongshan's impassive expression softened, a faint smile playing on his lips. It's nothing I can't talk about. He picked up the kuju ball again. My current father is only my adoptive father. When I was very young, my birth father forced me to train in martial arts. I had a bit of talent, and I progressed quickly. Zhao Linger listened intently. One day, I wandered into my father's room, and, out of curiosity, I accidentally ingested some medicine he was developing. Sikong Chongshan's expression was somber. I was poisoned. I can no longer use my inner energy without it turning against me. Countless physicians have tried, but none could find a cure. Zhao Linger's heart ached for him. That's terrible. Is there no antidote? Sikong Chongshan didn't answer. He frowned, an unusual silence falling over him. Then, in an abrupt shift, he forced a light-hearted tone, flicking Zhao Linger's forehead. Instead of worrying about me, he said, changing the subject, we should focus on this kuju competition. He tossed the ball back to Zhao Linger. Go practice. I'll see you later. Rubbing his still smarting forehead, Zhao Linger muttered. He just changes the subject and runs off. Several figures in black stood behind Luo Yu. Young master, they addressed him respectfully. We've received intelligence that the headmaster will return to the academy tonight, just before the Qingxue grand ceremony. Luo Yu watched the carriage moving peacefully through the valley below. One of the black-clad figures spoke excitedly. This is our chance to capture him alive. Luo Yu nodded in agreement. Prepare yourselves, he commanded. We will capture the headmaster tonight. Meanwhile, a young man with white hair drove the carriage, addressing the occupant respectfully. Master, he said, we are approaching the rear mountains of the academy. A voice from within replied, continue on. After traveling a short distance further, the horses suddenly grew restless, looking around nervously. The white-haired driver noticed their unease. What is it? He asked the horses. A moment later, his expression hardened. A suspicion began to form in his mind. His fears were confirmed. Dozens of figures in black descended from the surrounding hills, quickly encircling the carriage. The white-haired driver pulled back on the reins, steadying the horses. Nearby, Zhao Linger, still practicing with the kuju ball, suddenly looked up, his gaze drawn towards the distant woods. He had heard a strange commotion. What was that? He wondered, hurrying towards the source of the sound. Concealing himself in the undergrowth, he peered through the foliage. Is someone fighting? He thought. He saw a group of figures in black surrounding a young man, their stances aggressive. The white-haired young man blocked their advance. Zhao Linger's eyes widened in shock. He recognized them. They were the same men who had been pursuing him. The white-haired youth, fighting alone, was clearly outmatched. He gradually lost ground, and he run, man in black, sword slashed viciously across his arm, leaving a gaping wound. The man in black who had wounded the white-haired youth suddenly found a kuju ball hurtling towards him. His eyes widened in surprise. The man in black hastily raised his sword, arching his back sharply to deflect the speeding kuju ball. Zhao Linger seized the opportunity, leaping high and launching an attack on the man in black. By the time the man in black reacted, it was too late. Zhao Linger's sword slammed into his left shoulder. Blood spurted instantly. Zhao Linger, having landed his blow, landed gracefully back on the ground. He stood protectively in front of the white-haired youth. The leader of the men in black trembled uncontrollably. Clutching his wound, the leader cried out in pain. One of his subordinates anxiously called out, "Young master!" Zhao Linger, his sword held ready, demanded in a cold, fierce voice, "Who are you?" The leader of the men in black, his face hidden as he clutched his wound, simply ordered his men to retreat. Zhao Linger, enraged that they were trying to escape, shouted, "Don't think you can run." He was about to give chase when he heard a pained groan from the white-haired youth behind him. Zhao Linger spun around, his brow furrowed with concern. Studying the young man, whom he didn't recognize, Zhao Linger politely asked, "Are you all right?" The white-haired youth, clutching the deepest cut on his arm and trembling uncontrollably, whispered, "I'm fine. Thank you for saving me." Zhao Linger frowned, recalling the scene. The leader of the men in black had seemed strangely familiar. He approached the white-haired youth, curiosity piqued. Who were those men in black? The white-haired youth, his body racked with pain and sweat dripping from his face, fought to stay conscious. I don't know. Zhao Linger pressed on. Why were they attacking you? But the white-haired youth could no longer hold himself upright and began to collapse. Zhao Linger quickly reached out to support him. "Wake up!" Zhao Linger cried in alarm. Just then, A voice spoke from inside a nearby carriage. "This young gentleman is from Yuanshan Academy, isn't he? Thank you for your assistance." Zhao Linger turned his head sharply. The person inside the carriage drew back the curtain. A calm, authoritative voice spoke. "Perhaps you could also assist us by helping him back to the academy." A white-haired, elderly gentleman stepped out of the carriage. He clasped his hands behind his back and spoke kindly. "Perhaps you could help carry him back to the academy." Zhao Linger looked at the newcomer, trying to guess his identity. This man, arriving at the academy late at night and attacked by those men in black. Could he be the headmaster? Headmaster Zhou's eyes widened in surprise. "You recognize me?" Zhao Linger, startled that his guess was correct, stammered. "Are you truly the headmaster?" Headmaster Zhou stroked his mustache. "Indeed I am. You must be a new student this year. Remarkable that you recognize me." Zhao Linger, his jaw tight, asked urgently, 7 years ago, did General Zhao Yu come to the academy? Headmaster Zhou's eyes widened in surprise. He realized with a start. "Young man, are you related to Zhao Yu?" Zhao Linger stood his ground, composed. He stated his name clearly. "My name is Zhao Linger." Headmaster Zhou's eyes went wide with shock. He murmured the name in disbelief. You're Zhao Linger?" Meanwhile, Luo Yu had removed his disguise. Clutching his wound, he heard a man in black behind him say, "Young master, the master is waiting for you up ahead." Luo Yu led his men to a figure wearing a large hat. His subordinates bowed respectfully and called out in unison, "Master!" Clutching his wound, Luo Yu addressed the figure as father, then reported respectfully, they were prepared. "We failed to capture the headmaster." Luo Qingxiang turned slightly, his voice low and commanding. "Was your identity compromised?" A shadow of dejection crossed Luo Yu's face as he looked down. Luo Qingxiang offered no kind reply. His face remained impassive and cold. He turned away, his voice flat as he continued his instructions. "Our great undertaking is almost complete. Just one more step. Go back and continue your surveillance." Luo Yu, suppressing his pain, murmured, "Father." He longed for even a flicker of concern from Luo Qingxiang, but the prime minister merely turned his head, a detached what escaping his lips. Luo Qingxiang showed no interest in his son's well-being. Luo Yu swallowed his unspoken plea, his head bowed low, his jaw tight. "Nothing," he mumbled. "I'll go back then." After Luo Yu's departure, one of the black-clad figures below hesitantly spoke. "I have something to report, but I'm not sure if I should." Luo Qingxiang, his face obscured by the shadows, gave no indication of his thoughts. "Speak," he commanded softly. The figure in black slowly voiced his concerns. "While we were attempting to capture the headmaster earlier, a young man intervened. It was he who injured young Master Luo Yu." At these words, Luo Qingxiang's gaze sharpened, turning icy. So there was another involved. The figure in black offered his conjecture. "From the young man's build and appearance, he greatly resembles Zhao Linger, the daughter of Zhao Yu, who disappeared several months ago." He continued, recounting the events of that day at the ruined temple. "We pursued the madam, but Zhao Linger's whereabouts remained unknown. I never would have imagined that she would disguise herself as a man and infiltrate the academy." He paused, and Luo Qingxiang, his voice laced with authority, urged him to continue. "This is merely a suspicion, of course." His head bowed, his gaze respectful, he finished. "Perhaps young master's injury and retreat were due to a sense of camaraderie with this fellow student." The black-clad figure fell silent, having reported all he knew. Luo Qingxiang remained quiet for a long moment. Growing uneasy, the figure looked up. "My lord." Luo Qingxiang finally turned, his voice flat. "You are dismissed." Once the men in black had departed, the yellow-haired man who had been standing behind Luo Qingxiang stepped forward, a sneer twisting his lips. "It seems you have a troublesome son." Luo Qingxiang offered no quarter. "You have no right to judge me," he retorted sharply. The yellow-haired man fell silent. Luo Qingxiang's voice took on a cryptic tone. "The Qingxue Grand Ceremony is the final stage, and our chance to expose Sikong Chongshan." Sikong Chongshan abruptly pushed open the door, peering curiously into the room. "Has the headmaster returned?" Entering, he was surprised to find not only the headmaster, but also a teacher in Zhao Linger. Zhao Linger, hearing the commotion, turned and called out, "Chongshan." A flicker of confusion crossed Sikong Chongshan's face. "What is little Linger doing here?" Headmaster Zhou stroked his beard, a benevolent smile on his face. "Excellent timing," he said warmly. "Chongshan, Linger, come with me." Both felt a shared sense of bewilderment, but obediently followed. Headmaster Zhou led them towards the library. With his hands clasped behind his back, he addressed Zhao Linger. "How did you know your father had been here?" Zhao Linger's gaze dropped, a shadow of sadness crossing her features. "I overheard it," she replied softly. "I was hiding, listening to the conversation of those men in black." She looked up at Headmaster Zhou, her voice tinged with sorrow. "Do you know who they were? Do you know why my parents died?" Headmaster Zhou didn't immediately answer. He walked to a porcelain vase and gently turned it. With a soft, grinding sound, a section of the bookshelf in the corner slid open, revealing a hidden passage. A secret chamber lay within. Holding a candle aloft, Headmaster Zhou led them down into the darkness, his voice low as he began to recount the events of years past. A potion appeared on the market from the western regions. This potion had two components, a poison and an antidote. The poison could amplify one's inner energy tenfold, even 100-fold. But the process of absorbing the poison into the body was agonizing. Headmaster Zhou's voice grew heavy, and each time one used their inner energy, the side effects would slowly consume them. Only the antidote could alleviate the pain. Zhao Linger glanced at Sikong Chongshan, her eyes filled with concern. Could the poison Chongshan was afflicted with be this western region's potion? A rebellious faction, known as the Jiao, sought to obtain this potion. The late emperor, fearing its power, commanded your father, General Zhao Yu, to also search for the potion, to keep it out of the Jiao's hands. A memory flickered in Zhao Linger's mind. She saw herself as a child, her eyes wide with innocent curiosity, asking her father, "Where are you going?" Zhao Yu had stroked her head. "To a very beautiful place." Little Zhao Linger, her face clouding over, had asked, "When will you come back?" Zhao Linger's eyes softened as she remembered her father's gentle smile. "I'll write to you," he had promised. "When you receive my 10th letter, I'll be sure to return." Zhao Yu had pulled her close, his hand gently caressing her hair. "I promise," he had whispered, his voice filled with love. Little Zhao Linger had nodded happily. "You must keep your promise." Headmaster Zhou recounted the entire story to her. "Your father retrieved the Jia, but it was unfortunately destroyed on his journey back to the capital. That marked the beginning of your fate. It was then stolen by the Jia organization. Based on the poison they seized, they developed a batch of identical potions. They ordered their members to consume it, and while their power multiplied, they also gradually consumed their own lives." Headmaster Zhou's voice was heavy with sorrow. "The Jia organization doesn't know the Jia has been destroyed. To alleviate their suffering, they've been tirelessly searching for it. The emperor learned of the Jia's destruction, but Zhao Yu requested that the news be kept secret, only known to his majesty and himself. He implored the emperor to entrust him with protecting the Jia." The emperor coughed weakly, understanding his meaning. "You intend to pretend the Jia still exists." Zhao Yu bowed his head in response. "The rebels, desperate to end their suffering, will continue to search for the Jia. With the court in turmoil, leading them on this search can distract them and buy us time." The emperor was taken aback. "Though we intend to eradicate the Jia organization once the court is stabilized, do you realize that by doing this, the lives of your wife and child will be in danger?" Zhao Yu lowered his head respectfully, his resolve firm. His voice was low as he replied, "I understand." Zhao Linger's eyes, downcast, were filled with a heavy sadness. She couldn't help but recall her father from her childhood. She remembered herself, wide-eyed and innocent, asking her mother, "Why does it take father so long to return? He promised to bring me a gift. He must have forgotten." Her mother knelt down and gently patted her shoulder. "Your father has just returned and needs to rest. Linger must be a good girl and not disturb him, understand?" Young Zhao Linger, ever mischievous, declared magnanimously, "Since mother says so, I'll indulge him." Her mother chuckled, covering her mouth to stifle her laughter. Zhao Linger, carefree, bid her mother farewell and ran off to play. As she excitedly ran towards the gate, she noticed a line of men and wondered, why are there so many guards at home? Her mother watched Zhao Linger's carefree figure, a gentle smile gracing her lips. Only after her daughter was out of sight did her smile fade, replaced by a worried frown and a heavy sigh. Headmaster Zhou gently placed the candlestick higher, his voice somber. For years, the court and the Jiao have been secretly cultivating their power. He picked up something from the table and continued his story. After the late emperor's passing, your father could no longer hold back. Headmaster Zhou handed a box to Zhaolinger. The task of continuing to distract the rebels fell to me and your mother. He sighed. Your mother's involvement in this task. It was more about ensuring you were raised well. He continued. This is what your father entrusted to me all those years ago. Zhaolinger looked down at the box in her hands as Headmaster Zhou slowly explained its contents. Inside is an empty bottle, identical to the one that held the Jia. She gently stroked the box, her fists clenching, her fingers trembling. A tear fell onto the back of her hand. Her voice choked with emotion. She called out, Chongshan, was the poison you were afflicted with the Shiyu potion? Seeing his affirmation, Zhaolinger, tears welling in her eyes, furrowed her brow and asked, then the biological father you spoke of couldn't be him? Sikong Chongshan lowered his gaze and quietly revealed the truth. He is Hu Ji, the leader of the Jiao organization. He founded the Jiao 10 years ago. They plundered the imperial tributes and distributed them to the poor. In recent years, the organization's numbers have grown rapidly. Sikong Chongshan's expression was grim. At the time, the court was weakened, struggling against external enemies. They promptly classified the Jiao as a dangerous organization and suppressed them, but they remained defiant. Listening to these words, Zhaolinger's expression grew serious, her brow furrowed in deep thought. Hu Ji's ambition is becoming clear. He wants to overthrow the court. Headmaster Zhou stroked his beard. After all these years, the court and the Jiao have been locked in a struggle. Yet, the Jiao's power hasn't diminished. He slowly voiced his suspicion. I fear there are members of the Jiao within the court itself. Zhaolinger's brow furrowed further, her face paling as the thought struck her. There are Jiao agents within the court? Headmaster Zhou stroked his mustache. We are fortunate for your intervention tonight, Qianling. Their attack has failed once. They will likely return with a more direct approach. At these words, Sikong Chongshan's face hardened. Headmaster, the Academy's celebration will be crowded and chaotic. They will surely seize that opportunity to strike. A plan sparked in his mind. They secretly plotted and finalized their plan. Soon, the two left the headmaster's quarters. Zhaolinger followed, closely behind Sikong Chongshan as they stepped out the door. Zhaolinger gazed intently at Sikong Chongshan's retreating figure. Her family's tragedy, the Jiao organization, the insidious poison. How much more did he hide from her? Sikong Chongshan. Hearing no footsteps behind him, Sikong Chongshan turned, a flicker of concern in his eyes. What's wrong, Linger? He asked. Meeting his worried gaze, Linger managed a small smile. Chongshan reached out, gently ruffling her hair. Don't worry, he reassured her. I'm here. Nothing will happen to you. Just act normal tomorrow. As Chongshan withdrew his hand, Linger suddenly grasped his sleeve, her voice tight as she called his name. A frown creased Linger's brow. Anxiety gnawed at her. If our plan succeeds, she began, her voice hesitant. What will you do then? Chongshan looked back at her, a puzzled expression on his face. He didn't seem to understand her question. A sudden urgency gripped Linger. Will you leave? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Will you stay here at the academy, with me? Chongshan fell silent for a moment, then abruptly turned his head away. Do you like it here so much, Linger? He asked, his voice evasive. Linger's expression fell. She knew he was avoiding her question. He knew. She couldn't hide it anymore. A blush flooded Linger's cheeks. I like you, she blurted out, her voice trembling. Chongshan froze, his breath catching in his throat. Linger's heart pounded in her chest. She lowered her head, nervously awaiting his response. But then, Chongshan laughed, a surprisingly casual sound. I like you too, Linger, he said, turning back to her with a curious look. Why did you suddenly say that? Linger stared at him, stunned by his reaction. Then, Chongshan rubbed his arms. Are you cold, Linger? It's chilly tonight. These academy uniforms are so thin. Let's go back. Linger watched him walk away. He knew what she meant. The same words, yet a different meaning. He was being deliberately obtuse, deflecting her confession with a playful tease. She stared after him, a strange unease settling over her. Despite the crisp autumn night, a shadowy aura seemed to cling to him, as if he might vanish at any moment. Linger's expression hardened. Run, she barked. What are you dawdling for? Do you think you're strolling through a market? She shouted at the other students as they jogged along, sweat dripping from their brows. They grumbled about being tired, but Linger, hearing their complaints, added another 10 laps. After their laps, the students trudged into the classroom, muttering about Linger under their breath. I won't be able to move tomorrow, one groaned. That captain is a demon. As the student continued to complain about Linger's seemingly delicate appearance, hiding a surprisingly tough interior, Linger herself overheard. Her jaw tightened. Hands on her hips, she glared at them. You too, she snapped. 10 extra laps tomorrow. The two students groaned in despair. Linger stroked her chin, lost in thought. Several students had skipped training today. Chongshan was also absent. Where had they all gone? As she started to walk away, she looked up and saw Luo Yu. What are you doing here? She asked, surprised. Skipping training too? Luo Yu held up a small package of medicine. I caught a chill, he explained. Just picking up some medicine. Linger leaned closer, her voice gentle. Are you feeling unwell? I could take a look at you. Luo Yu offered a weak smile. It's just a minor ailment, he said. Don't trouble yourself. Linger felt a prickle of suspicion, but kept her expression neutral. Have you been injured lately? She asked casually. Luo Yu's face flickered for a moment before he forced a smile. No, he replied. Are you sure? Linger pressed gently. Luo Yu nodded. Just asking, she said with a smile, as if she hadn't a doubt in the world. Linger turned to leave, waving goodbye. I'll see you later, she said. Come back to training when you're feeling better. But as she returned to her quarters, Linger's expression turned cold. The scent of that medicine. It was unmistakably the same medicine her foster father used to treat wounds. It was the person I stabbed that day. Suddenly, she sensed an unfamiliar presence. With lightning reflexes, she reached out, seizing the source and pinning the intruder to the ground. As she saw the person's face, Linger froze. It was Sikong Chongshan. He coughed, struggling to breathe. It's me, he gasped. Let go. Zhao Linger released her grip and demanded irritably. What are you doing hiding in my room? Who told you could just barge in here? Sikong Chongshan, ever the rogue, replied, waiting for you, of course. Rubbing his sore neck, he added with a put-upon air, seriously so stingy. Linger inwardly fumed at the impudent boy. She looked down, feigning confusion. Waiting for me? For a while now. Where did you go? Linger frowned. Training, obviously. That's what I should be asking you, Sikong Chongshan retorted, stepping closer and suddenly putting his arm around Linger's waist. Wait a minute. Never mind that, he interrupted, his tone urgent. We're short on time. Linger's head snapped up. What are you doing? Ignoring her question, Chongshan blurted out. First, take off your clothes. Sporting a fresh bruise on his face, he explained, I changed my disguise. I was going to tell you to change your clothes too, but before I could finish, you slapped me. They arrived in the bustling marketplace. Sikong Chongshan stared, transfixed, at something ahead. The thing we absolutely need for the plan, it's here. Linger sounded incredulous. Are you sure this is the place? Chongshan's voice was firm. This is the Liu family estate. They're the local magnates. Chongshan recalled how easily he'd found the place. It was thanks to the small spider he'd injured earlier, who happened to be a close acquaintance of the Liu family. The spider was likely recuperating here. With practiced ease, they scaled the wall and landed on the roof. Once we get that item from them, Chongshan whispered, we're golden. This family has a lot of patrol guards to prevent theft, Chongshan warned. We have to be careful not to be seen. Linger nodded quickly. They jumped down from the roof and quickly concealed themselves behind a decorative rock garden. Cautiously, they observed the steady stream of people coming and going. Peeking out, Chongshan murmured, according to plan, let's start searching the guest quarters. Moving swiftly, they soon located the guest wing. Sikong Chongshan kept a sharp eye on their surroundings. Linger peered through a crack in the door, quickly confirming their target. After carefully checking that the room was empty, she whispered, let's hurry. They quietly pushed the door open and slipped inside, deciding to split up and search. Meanwhile, Du Zhu, nursing his injured arm, slowly made his way back towards his room in the Liu estate. He was preoccupied with the thought of how far the latrine was. Inside the room, Chongshan quickly located the item. Excitedly, he called out, Xiao Qian, it's here. in the gap behind the cabinet. Chongshan retrieved the box and held it out to Linger. They exchanged hushed, excited whispers of triumph. Just then, Du Zhu reached the door and raised his hand to push it open. Linger, alerted by the sound, turned with a look of alarm. "Someone's coming back," she hissed. "This is bad." Du Zhu pushed the door open and froze, looking around his room in confusion. Something fell off. Suddenly, Linger sprang from behind him, her left leg rising in a swift arc. She delivered a powerful kick to his waist, then grabbed his head and slammed it against the wall. Du Zhu crumpled to the floor, unconscious. From the doorway, Sikong Chongshan applauded her smooth takedown. "Beautiful." Linger spun around. "Run." Guards, alerted by the commotion, were already on their way. "This place is crawling with them," Linger exclaimed as they raced away. They reached the perimeter wall and heard the guards shouting from behind. "They're in the back courtyard." Thinking fast, Linger grabbed Chongshan's wrist. "Come with me." She pulled him along and jumped into the estate's ornamental pond, disappearing beneath the surface. Suddenly, Chongshan's face contorted in distress. He'd swallowed water, and his hands flew to his throat, struggling to breathe. Linger, noticing his panic, swam towards him with a grim expression, holding her own breath. But it was too late. Chongshan's hands fell away, his eyes fluttered closed, and he began to sink down into the depths of the pond.